Ooh, that took me a while to come back. Hey, guys, long time no see. Guess what? I've been busy. That's why I haven't been around. Hang on 1 second. I forgot to. Why do I keep forgetting it? Hang on. Sound. I need to turn this off. Turn this off. Turn this off. That's fine. Turn this off. Okay, that's good. BGM low. No, I think BGM 0, 1, or. Alright, guys. Welcome back. I'm gonna take a screenshot. It's gonna be my profile picture. Welcome back. Sorry, guys. Welcome back to Noodible. So sorry, I've been away for like a month. I've been busy. I've started a new job. It's struggling to find time to do this really, like, like trying to find the time to like rest and not do anything other than like anything that's like work related. And I have a little bit more off days this end of this month onward, so I can probably finish this book end of this month. I definitely cannot finish today. Part 4 is extremely long. I don't even know if I can finish reading part 4, but I can try. If it's really taking them too long, I'm gonna stop in the middle of part 4. Hope you guys don't mind. Okay, lip balm before I start reading. Man, I've been away for so long. I barely remember the last chapter, but usually when I jump back in, I'll immediately remember what happened in the last part, I guess. Hope you guys doing well. Okay, I'm not gonna waste too much time talking nonsense. The gist is that I started a new job. I got a gecko. I got a pet gecko. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's all really. I'm just riding the normie life, I guess. Yeah, I spent 5 years being at home every single day, and I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all, because, well, because my cat passed away last year, and the last 3 months of his life was pretty bad, and I was glad that I wasn't working at that time, because if I was, I wouldn't be able to spend every single day of his last days with me. It's still difficult to talk about that, so I'm not gonna go in for too much, but it was difficult. Yeah, I feel like it took me a year to really heal a little bit. I don't know, getting a pet gecko definitely is a way to help me move on, I think. I don't know. I think there's this feeling like you want to move on, but you don't want to move on because you don't want to forget what you had. And like I said, it's difficult to talk about that, and I think I should stop now. Anyway, yeah, today we're gonna continue reading Kazuo Ishiguro's Klara and the Sun, and we stopped at the end of part 3 last time, and today we're gonna go with part 4. So okay, let me get my hydration ready. I don't have to like pour water out and like in the midst of reading, and okay, that's. Are we ready? Oops, sorry. All right, we're fine. Yeah, let's do it. Alright, guys. Oh, the book disappeared every time I press it. Why? It's so dumb. What? No, that's so dumb. And you know what's dumber? The study emote cannot be used when you're sitting down. That means you literally cannot study when you are sitting down for this fucking game. Okay. I have this bookmark. I don't know where I got it from. It says, start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. It's really nice. Okay, let's go. Right. Today we are reading Kazuo Ishiguro's. I just realized Zappa put this on my desk. Oh, that's so sweet of him. I just realized I barely come downstairs. Yeah. Oh. Okay, I think I'll go this angle this time because last time I was on that angle. Okay, don't be distracted by the disappearing book, okay? I mean, when I say that, I'm telling that to myself. Anyway. Alright, let's go. Today we are continuing Kazuo Ishiguro, Klara and the Sun, Part 4. The friend's apartment was inside a townhouse. From the window of its main lounge, I could see similar townhouses on the opposite side of the street. There were 6 of them in a row, and the front of each had been painted a slightly different color to prevent a resident climbing the wrong steps and entering a neighbor's house by mistake. I made this observation aloud to Josie that day, 40 minutes before we set off to see the portrait man, Mr. Capaldi. She was lying on the leather sofa behind me, reading a paperback she had taken down from the black bookshelves. The sun's pattern was falling across her raised knees, and she was so engrossed in her reading she made only a vague noise in reply. I was pleased about this because earlier she had been getting very tense with the waiting. She had relaxed noticeably once I had gone to stand at the triple window, knowing that I would alert her the moment the father's taxi drew up outside. The mother, too, had been getting tense, though whether on account of the coming meeting with Mr. Capaldi or because of the father's imminent arrival, I couldn't be certain. She had left the main lounge some time before, and I could hear her voice from the next room on the phone. I could have listened to her words by putting my head to the wall, and I even considered doing so, given the possibility she was talking to Mr. Capaldi. But I thought this might make Josie even more anxious, and in any case, it occurred to me that Mother was more likely to be speaking to the father to give street directions. Once I had understood, Josie was depending on me to look out for the father's taxi. I put aside plans to learn further the friend's apartment and concentrated on the view from the triple window. I didn't mind this, particularly since there was always the chance that the Coutings machine would go by, and even if I couldn't very well chase after it, such a sighting would be an important step forward. But by then, I had come to accept that chances of the Coutings machine passing the friend's apartment were slight. Earlier, during the drive into the city, I had become overly hopeful because, while still on the outskirts, we had passed numerous overhaul men, and even when the men weren't to be seen, their barriers were there closing off one street or another. That was when I had begun to think the Coutings machine would appear at any moment. But though I kept looking from my side window, and though twice we passed other kinds of machines, it never appeared. Then the traffic became slower, and there were fewer overhaul men. The mother and Miss Helena in the front were talking to one another in their usual relaxed way, while beside me in the back, Josie and Rick pointing things out to each other in the soft voices. In soft voices, sorry. Sometimes one would nudge the other as we passed something, and they would laugh together, even though no words had been exchanged. We passed a pink blossoming park, then a building with a sign that said no standing except trucks. And in front of Miss Helen and the mother were also laughing, though both had caution in their voices. Just be strict with him, Chrissy, Miss Helen said. Next came Chinese signs and bicycle chains to post that it began to rain, though the sun kept trying his best, and umbrella couples appeared, and tourists with magazines over their heads, and I saw an AF hurrying for shelter beside his teenager. Rick, that's ridiculous, Josie said about something and giggled. The rain stopped as we came into a street with buildings so tall the sidewalks on both sides were in the shadow, and there were undershirt men sitting on their front steps talking and watching us go by. Really, Chrissy? Please drop us off anywhere, Miss Helen was saying. We have already taken you much too far out of your way. I saw two gray buildings side by side that weren't the same height, and someone made a cartoon painting on the wall of the taller building where it stood above its neighbor, perhaps to make their discrepancy less awkward. My mind filled with happiness each time I saw a towaway zone sign, though these were slightly different to the ones outside our store. Josie leaned forward and made a humorous remark, and both adults laughed. We'll see you both tomorrow then at the sushi place. Then Mother said to Miss Helen, It's right next to the theater. You can't miss it. And Miss Helen said, Thank you, Chrissy. I know it will help me greatly. It will help Rick too. We drove through a fountain square, then a park filled with leaves where I spotted two more AFs, then into a busy street with high buildings. He's late, Josie said from the sofa, and I heard the dull thump of her paper bag falling onto the rug. But I guess that's not unusual. I realized she was trying to make a joke of it, so laughed and said, But I'm sure he is very anxious to see Josie again. You must remember how slowly the traffic moved when we were coming here. The same is probably happening to him now. Dad never gets places on time, and after Mom promised to pay for his taxi. Okay, I'm going to forget everything about him for a while. Definitely doesn't deserve fussing over. As she reached down for her fallen paper bag, I turned again to the triple window. The view of the street from the friend's apartment was quite different to the one from the store. Taxis were rare, but other kinds of cars in every size, shape, and color went by quickly, coming to a stop at the far left of my view, where a long-armed traffic signal hung over the street. There were fewer runners and tourists here, but more headsets walkers and more pedal cyclists, some carrying items in one hand while steering with the other. Once, not long after Josie's remark about the father's lateness, a cyclist went by holding under his arm a large board shaped like a flattened bird, and I feared the wind would catch the board and make him lose balance. But he was skillful and darted around the cars till he was at the front, right under the hanging traffic light. The mother's voice in the next room had grown anxious, and I knew Josie could hear it, but when I glanced around, she appeared still to be engrossed in her paper bag. A dog-led woman went past, then a station wagon with Gio's Coffee Shop Deli on its side. Then a taxi slowed down directly outside. The main lounge was higher than the sidewalk, so I couldn't see into the interior of the taxi, but Mother's voice stopped, and I was certain this was the father's arriving. Josie, here he is. At first she went on reading, Then she took a deep breath, sat up, and let the book fall to the rug again. I bet you think he's a dork, she said. Some people think he's a dork, but actually he's super smart. You have to give him a chance. I saw a tall but stooping figure in a gray raincoat emerge from a taxi holding a paper bag. He looked uncertainly up at our townhouse, and I suppose that he was confused as to which one was it. Those on our side being as similar as those on the other. He kept holding the paper bag carefully, the way people carry a small dog too tired to walk. He chose the correct steps, and might even have seen me, though I had moved back into the room once I had given Josie my warning. I thought the mother would now come back into the main lounge, and her footsteps sounded, but she remained out in the hall. For what seemed a long time, Josie and I, and the mother in the hall, waited in silence. Then the bell rang, and we heard again the mother's footsteps, then their voices. They were speaking to one another softly. The door between the hall and the main lounge was partly open, and Josie and I, both standing in the center of the room, watched carefully for signs. Then the father came in, no longer in his raincoat, but holding his paper bag in both hands. He had on a fairly high-rank office jacket, but under it a tired brown sweater that came up to his chin. "Hey, Josie! My favorite wall animal!" He clearly wished to greet Josie in an embrace and look around for somewhere to put down the paper bag. But Josie stepped forward and placed his arms around him, paper bag and all. As he received her embrace, his gaze wandered around the room and fell on me. Then he looked away and closed his eyes, letting his cheeks rest against the top of her head. They stayed like that for a long time, keeping very still, not even rocking slowly the way Mother and Josie did sometimes during their morning farewells. The mother was equally still, standing a little way behind, a black bookshelf at each shoulder, her face unsmiling as she watched. The embrace continued, and when I glanced again at the mother, the whole section of the room had become partitioned. Her narrowed eye repeated in box after box, and in some boxes the eyes were watching Josie and the father, while in others they were looking at me. At last, they loosened their embrace, and the father smiled and raised the paper bag higher, as though it were in need of oxygen. "Here, animal," he said to Josie. "Brought you my latest little creation." He passed the bag to Josie, holding its bottom till she was doing the same. Then they sat down side by side on the sofa to peer inside it. Rather than remove the item from the bag, Josie tore the paper away at the sides to reveal a small, rough-looking circular mirror mounted on a tiny stand. She held it on her knee and said, "So what's this, Dad? For doing makeup?" "If you want. But you're not looking at it. Take another look." "Wow! That's sensational! What's going on?" "Isn't it strange how we all tolerate it? All these mirrors that show you the wrong way around. This one shows you the way you really look. No heavier than the average compact." "That's brilliant! Did you invent this?" "I would like to claim it, but the real credit goes to my friend Benjamin, one of the other guys in the community. He came up with the idea, but he didn't know quite how to pull it off in real-world terms, so I did the part. Fresh out of the oven, only last week. What do you think, Josie?" "Wow! It's a masterpiece! I'm going to be checking my face in public the whole time now. Thanks! You're such a genius. Does this thing run on batteries?" For the next few moments, the father and Josie went on talking about the mirror, breaking off to exchange jokey greetings as if they were only meeting for the first time at the moment. Their shoulders were touching, and as they talked, they often pressed further into one another. I remained standing in the middle of the room, the father sometimes glancing towards me, and I thought at any moment Josie would introduce us. But the father's arrival had made her excited. She continued talking rapidly to him, and soon the father ceased glancing my way. My new physics tutor, Dad. I bet he doesn't even know. I bet he doesn't know even half of what you do, and he's weird. If he wasn't mega accredited, I would be like, Mom, we have to get this guy arrested. No, 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 no. Don't panic. He isn't improper. It's just obvious he's fixing something in his shed, to blow us all up. Hey, how's the knee? Oh, much better, thanks. In fact, it's just fine. You remember the cookie that you had last time we went out? The one that looked like the president of China? Even though Josie's speech was fast and seamless, I could tell that she was testing her words in her mind before speaking them. Then the mother, who had gone out into the hall, came back wearing her coat, and she was also holding up in the air Josie's thicker jacket. Cutting straight into the talk between Josie and the father, she said, Paul, come on. You haven't said hello to Klara. This here's Klara. The father and Josie fell silent, both looking at me. Then the father said, Klara, hello. The smile he had had since entering the apartment had vanished. Hate to rush you guys, the mother said, but you got here late, Paul. We have an appointment to keep. The father's smile returned, but there was now anger in his eyes. I haven't seen my daughter in nearly 3 months, and I don't get to talk with her for 5 minutes? Paul, it's you who insisted on coming with us today. I think I have a right to come, Chrissy. No one's denying you that, but you don't make us late. Is this guy so busy? Don't make us late, Paul, and you behave while we are there. The father looked at Josie and shrugged. See? In trouble already, he said and laughed. Come on then, animal. We had better get going. Paul, the mother said, you haven't spoken to Klara. I just said hello. Come on, speak to her some more. Part of the family. Is that what you're saying? The mother stared at him, then seemed to change her mind about something and shook Josie's jacket in the air. Come on, honey, we need to go. While we are waiting outside for Mother's car, the father, wearing his raincoat again, stood with his arm around Josie. They were at the front edge of the sidewalk, while I stood further back, almost at the townhouse's railings and the pedestrian passing between us. Because of our positions and the unusual outdoor acoustics, I had difficulty hearing their words. At one point, the father turned towards me but continued speaking to Josie, even as his eyes examined me. Then a black-skinned lady with large earrings passed between us, and when she had gone, the father's back was turned once more. When the mother's car arrived, Josie and I got into the back, and as we set off, I tried to catch her eye to give reassurance in case she was anxious about posing for her portrait, but she was looking out of the window on her side, and she didn't turn my way. The mother's car made slow progress, leaving one traffic line only to get held up in another. We passed shuttered doorways and buildings with cross-shut windows. It began to rain again. The umbrella couples appeared, and the dog-led people moved in a hurry. Once there appeared on my side, close enough that I might have just touched it if I lowered my window. A soaked wall covered in angry cartoon writing. It's not so bad, the mother was saying to the father. There aren't enough of us. The budget per campaign's down almost 40%. We're in a chronic conflict with the PR people, but otherwise, yes, it's fine. Stephen still making his presence felt? Certainly is. Same congenial figure he always was. You know, Chrissy, I really do wonder if it's worth it, you hanging on this way. I'm not sure I understand. What is it that I'm hanging on to? Goodwin's, your law department, this whole world of work, your every waking moment determined by some contract you once signed. Please not go over this again. I'm sorry about what happened to you, Paul. I'm sorry and I'm still angry. But I keep hanging on, as you put it, because on the day I stopped, Josie's world, my world, would collapse. What? Why are you so sure of that, Chrissy? Look, it's a big step, I know. I'm only suggesting you think about it further. Try viewing things from a fresh perspective. Fresh perspective? Come on, Paul. Don't start claiming you're happy about the way it turned out. All that talent, all that experience. Honestly, I think the substitutions were the best thing that happened to me. I'm well out of it. How can you say that? You were top flight. Unique knowledge, specialist skills. How is it right no one can make use of you? Chrissy, I have to tell you, you are much more bitter about it than I am. The substitutions made me take a completely fresh look at the world, and I really believe they helped me to distinguish what's important from what isn't. And where I live now, there are many fine people who feel exactly the same way. They all came down the same road, same with careers far grander than mine. And we all of us agree, and I honestly believe we are not kidding ourselves. We are better off than we were back then. Really? Everyone thinks that? Even that friend of yours? The one who was the judge in Milwaukee? I'm not saying it's always easy. We all have our bad days, but compared to what we had before, we feel like we are really living for the first time. That's good to hear from an ex-husband. Sorry. Look, never mind this. I have some questions about this portrait. Not now, Paul. Not here. Okay. Hey, Dad. Josie called out beside me. You go ahead and ask what you want. I'm not listening. Like hell you're not listening, the father said and laughed. No more arguments about the portrait, Paul. The mother said, You owe me that. I owe you? I don't quite see why I owe you anything, Chrissy. Not now, Paul. It was just when I realized that the tow-away zone sign we were passing was the very one I knew so well. And in that same instant, the RPO building appeared on Josie's side and the familiar taxis were all around us. But when I turned with the excitement towards our store, I could see something was not correct. Of course, I had never seen the store from the street, but even so, there are no AFs and no striped sofa in the window. Instead, there was a display of colored bottles and signs saying recess lighting. I turned right around to continue looking just as Josie said. Hey Klara, you know where we are? Yes, of course. But we were already beyond the pedestrian crossing and I hadn't even looked to see if birds were perched up on the traffic signal. In fact, I had been so startled by the store's new appearance, I had not observed the surrounding nearly as much as I would have liked. And then we were in a different section of the street altogether, and I turned again to see, through the rear windshield, the RPO building growing smaller. You know what I think? There was a concern in Josie's voice. I think your old store's moved on. Yes, perhaps. But I had no more time to think about the store, for what I saw next between the two front seats was the coatings machine. I recognized it before we were close enough to see the name on its body. There it was, throwing out pollution from 3 funnels the way it had always done. I knew I should feel anger, but coming on it after the surprise about the store, I felt something almost like kindness towards the terrible machine. Then we passed it, the mother and the father continuing to speak with tension, and Josie said beside me, These stores, the way they keep changing. The day I came looking for you, that's what I was afraid of, that the store would have gone and you and your friends with it. I smiled at her, but didn't say anything. In the front, the adult voices grew louder. Look, Paul, we have been over and over this. Josie and Clara and I are going in there and we are proceeding just as planned. You agreed to it, remember? I agreed to it, but I can still comment, can't I? Not here you can't. Not now. Not in this goddamn car. Josie all this time had been saying something to me, but she had been distracted. Now, as the adults fell silent, she said, If you want, Clara, we can go look for it tomorrow, provided we have time. I almost thought she meant the Cootings machine. Then I realized she was referring to whatever new premises manager and the other AFs might have gone to. I thought she was being hasty in assuming that they had definitely moved simply because the window had looked different, and was about to say so when she leaned forward to the adults. Mom, just if there's time tomorrow, Clara wants to go find out what happened to her old store. Could we do that? If you want, honey. That's a deal. Today we go and see Mr. Capaldi, and you do what he asks. Tomorrow we do what you want. The father shook his head and turned to his own window. But because Josie was sitting directly behind him, she didn't see his expression. Don't worry, Clara. She reached over to touch my arm. We'll find it tomorrow. 1 second. I'm back. Okay. Sip of water. Sorry. The interior of Mr. Capaldi's house was nothing like its outside. In his main room, the floors were almost the same shade of white as his huge walls. Powerful spotlights fixed to the ceiling shone down on us, making it hard to look up without being dazzled. There was very little furniture for such a large space. One large black sofa, and in front of it a low table on which Mr. Capaldi had laid out 2 cameras and their lenses. The low table, like the glass display trolley in our store, had wheels to allow it to move smoothly across the floor. Henry, we don't want Josie getting tired, the mother was saying. Maybe we can get started? Of course! Mr. Capaldi waved towards the far corner where the 2 charts were fixed side by side to the wall. I could see on each chart many ruled lines crisscrossing at various angles. The light metal chair had been felt in front of the charts, and also a tripod stand lamp. Now, the tripod stand lamp wasn't switched on, and the far corner looked dark and lonely. Josie and the mother gazed towards it apprehensively. Then Mr. Capaldi, perhaps noticing, touched something on the low table, and the tripod stand lamp came to life, brightly illuminating the entire corner but creating new shadows. This will be totally relaxed, Mr. Capaldi said. He had a balding head and a beard that almost hid his mouth. I estimated 52 years old. His face was constantly on the brink of smiling. Nothing strenuous, so if Josie's ready, let's maybe get started. Josie, if you'd care to come this way? Henry, wait, the mother said, her voice echoing in the space. I was hoping to see the portrait first, what you had done so far. Of course, Mr. Capaldi said. Though you must understand that it is still a work in progress, and it's not always easy for a lay person to understand the way these things slowly take shape. I would like to take a look all the same. I'll take you up. In fact, Chrissy, you don't need my permission. You're the boss here. It's kind of scary, Josie said, but I would like to take a peek too. Honey. I promised Mr. Capaldi you wouldn't see anything yet. I tend to agree, Mr. Capaldi said. If you don't mind, Josie. In my experience, if the subject sees a portrait too early, things get messy. I need you to remain totally unself-conscious. Unself-conscious? About what exactly? The father asked, his voice loud and echoing. He had kept on his raincoat, even though Mr. Capaldi had twice invited him to hang it on one of the pegs inside the entrance. He had now drifted towards the chart and was studying them with a frown. What I mean, Paul, is that if the subject, in this case Josie, becomes too self-conscious, then she may start posing unnaturally. That's all I am meaning. The father kept staring at the wall charts. Then he shook his head in the same way he had in the car. Henry, the mother said, may I go to your studio? See what you've been doing? Of course, follow me. Mr. Capaldi led the mother over to the metal staircase, rising to a balcony. I watched the ascending feet through the gaps between the steps. Arriving on the balcony, Mr. Capaldi pressed a keypad beside a purple door. There was a short hum, and they both went in. The purple door closed behind them, and I went to the black sofa where Josie was sitting. I wanted to make a humorous remark to relax her, but the father spoke first from the illuminated corner. I guess the idea, Animal, is that you get photographed over and over in front of these charts. He stepped in closer. See these? Measurements marked along every line. You know that, Josie said, Mom told us you were cool about coming here today, but maybe it wasn't such a great idea. We could have met somewhere else, done something different. Don't worry, we'll do something else later, something better than this. Then he turned and smiled at her gently. This portrait, let's say it gets finished. What bothers me is that I won't get to have it with me, because your mom will want it with her. You could come see it any time, Josie said. It could be like your excuse to come more often. Look, Josie, I'm sorry. The way everything's turned out, I wish I could be with you more, a lot more. That's okay, Dad. It's all working out now. Hey, Klara, what do you think about my dad here? Not such a crazy, huh? It's been a great pleasure to meet Mr. Paul. The father went on looking at the charts as though I hadn't spoken, making a pointing gesture towards a detail. When at last he turned his face to me, his eyes had lost their smiling folds. Pleasure to meet you too, Klara, he said. Then he looked at Josie. Tell you what, Animal, let's get done with all this quickly. Then it's just the two of us. We can go somewhere, get something to eat. There's a place I'm thinking you would like. Yeah, sure, if that's okay with Mom and Klara. She turned to look over her shoulder. Just at that moment, up on the balcony, the purple door opened and Mr. Capaldi came out. He called back into his studio through the doorway. You're welcome to stay in there as long as you want. I better go and see to Josie. I heard the mother's voice say something. Then she too came out onto the balcony. She had lost her usual straight-back posture, and Mr. Capaldi extended a hand as though ready to catch her if she fell over. You okay there, Chrissy? The mother pushed past Mr. Capaldi and started down the steps, holding onto the rail. Midway down, she paused to push back her hair. Then she came down the rest of the way. So what do you think? Josie asked with anxious eyes. It's okay, the mother said. It'll be okay. Paul, you want to see it? Go ahead. Maybe just in a few minutes. Maybe in just a minute, the father said. Capaldi, I'd appreciate you getting finished with us quickly. I want to take Josie out for coffee and cake. That's okay, Paul. We have everything under control. You sure you're okay there, Chrissy? I'm fine, the mother said, but she hurried to reach the black sofa. Josie, Mr. Capaldi said, just before we do this, what I would really like is for Klara here to do me a little favor. I have a small assignment for her. I was thinking maybe she could be getting on with it while we took our photos. That okay? Fine by me, Josie said, but you should ask Klara. But Mr. Capaldi now addressed the father. Paul, maybe as a fellow scientist you will agree with me? I believe AFs have so much more to give us than we currently appreciate. We shouldn't fear their intellectual powers. We should learn from them. AFs have so much to teach us. I was an engineer, never a scientist. I think you know that. In any case, AFs were never in my territory. Mr. Capaldi shrugged and raising a hand to his beard appeared to be checking its texture. Then he turned to me saying, Klara, I've been devising a survey for you, a kind of questionnaire. It's up there on the screen, ready to go. If you wouldn't mind completing it, I would be so grateful. Before I could say anything, the mother said, It's a good idea, Klara. Give you something to do while Josie gets through her sitting. Of course. I'll be happy to help. Thanks. It's nothing difficult, I swear. In fact, what I would like, Klara, is for you to make no special effort. The whole thing works best if you respond spontaneously. I understand. There are not even questions to ask, but why don't we just go up there and I'll show you? Folks, Josie, this won't take a minute. I'll get Klara settled, then come right back down. Josie, you look so well today. This way, Klara. I thought he might take me also to the purple door, but we went to the opposite side of the room, where a different metal staircase climbed to its own section of balcony. Mr. Capaldi went first up to the steps, then I followed, taking each step carefully. When I glanced back down, I saw Josie, the mother, and the father were looking up at us. Josie still seated on the black sofa. I waved towards Josie, but no one below moved. Then Josie called up, Be good, Klara. This way, please, Klara. The balcony was narrow, made from the same dark metal as the staircase. Mr. Capaldi was holding open a glass door leading into a room smaller even than Josie's ensuite, dominated by a padded desk chair facing a screen. Please sit down there. It's all waiting for you. I seated myself with a white wall at my shoulder. Beneath the screen was a narrow ledge offering 3 control devices. The room wasn't large enough for Mr. Capaldi to come in too, so the glass door remained open while he gave me his instructions, reaching over sometimes to manipulate the devices. I listened to him carefully, even though I became aware that below, the mother and the father were once again using tense voices. Behind Mr. Capaldi's words, I heard the mother saying, No one's insisting you stay, Paul. It's not consistent, the father was saying. I'm merely pointing out the inconsistency. I'm not trying to be consistent. I'm just trying to find a way forward for us. Why make it harder than it is, Paul? Beside me, Mr. Capaldi laughed, broke off from his instructions and said, Oh my, looks like I better go down there and referee. You stay right here, Klara. Sorry, you all straight here, Klara. Thank you. Everything's quite clear. I appreciate it. Anything puzzles you, please call down. When he closed the door, it actually nudged my shoulder, but I could see sufficiently through its glass to watch Mr. Capaldi descending beneath the balcony level. Then I allowed my gaze to go beyond, across the empty air, over the opposite balcony and the purple door from which the mother had recently emerged. I began Mr. Capaldi's questionnaires. Sometimes questions would come on the screen as writing. Some other times there were shifting diagrams, or the screen would darken with sounds, with many layers emerging from the speakers. A face, Josie's, the mother's, a stranger's would appear and vanish. At first, short responses were of around 12 digits and symbols were appropriate. But as the questions grew more complex, I found myself giving longer answers, some running to over 100 digits and symbols. All the time, the voices from below remained tense, but with the glass door closed, I could no longer hear their words. Halfway through my assignment, I caught movement through the glass and saw on the opposite balcony Mr. Capaldi leading father up onto it. I continued my assignment, but having grasped its central purpose, I no longer needed to give it much attention and was able to watch the father nervously drawing the raincoat around him, approaching the purple door. He had his back to me and I was looking through frosted glass, so I couldn't be sure, but he looked as though he had suddenly become ill. But Mr. Capaldi on the balcony beside him seems unconcerned, smiling and talking cheerfully. Then he reached up to the keypad beside the purple door. From inside my cubicle, I couldn't hear the unlocking hum, but the next time I glanced their way, father had gone inside and Mr. Capaldi was leaning in through the doorway saying something. Then I saw Mr. Capaldi moved suddenly backward, and the father came out, and though I couldn't be sure through the frosted glass, he looked no longer ill, but filled with new energy. He seemed not to mind that he almost knocked Mr. Capaldi inside and started down the metal steps at reckless speed. Mr. Capaldi, watching him, shook his head as a parent would do when a child has a tantrum in store, then closed the purple door. The images on the screen were changing ever faster now, but my task remained obvious, and after several minutes without losing focus, I pushed partially ajar the glass door beside me, and I could hear more clearly the voices below. What you are emphasizing here, Paul, Mr. Capaldi was saying, is how any work we do brands us. That's your point, am I right? It brands us, and sometimes it brands us unjustly. That's a very smart way of misunderstanding my point, Capaldi. Paul, come on, the mother said. I'm sorry, Capaldi, if this sounds impolite, but frankly, I think you are deliberately misconstruing what I'm saying. No, Paul, you're genuinely not coming through here. There are always ethical choices around my work. That's true, whether we get paid for it or we don't. That's very considerate of you, Capaldi. Paul, come on, the mother said again. Henry's just doing what we ask him. No more, no less. It's no wonder, Capaldi. Oh, Henry, sorry. A guy like you would struggle to understand what I'm saying here. I pushed back my chair on its casters, rose, and passed through the glass door onto the balcony. I had already established the balcony was a rectangular circuit touching all four walls. Now, choosing the rear half of it, I kept close to the white wall, taking care not to cause the metal mesh to ring under my feet or to cross spotlight beams in any way that could create moving shadows below. I reached the purple door unnoticed and keyed in the code I had observed twice already. There came the usual short hum, but this went unnoticed by those below. I was then inside Mr. Capaldi's studio and closed the door behind me. The room was L-shaped, the section before me turning a corner into an extension beyond the normal boundary of the building. Leading towards this corner were two counters attached to each wall, busy with shapes, fabrics, small knives and tools. But I had no time to focus on this, and went on towards the corner, remembering to tread cautiously, because the floor was still all the same metal mesh. I turned the corner of the L and saw Josie there, suspended in the air. She wasn't very high, her feet at the height of my shoulders, but because she was leaning forward, arms outstretched, fingers spread, she seemed to be frozen in the act of falling. Little beams illuminated her various angles, forbidding her any refuge. Her face was very like that of a real Josie, but because her face was very like that of the real Josie, but because there was at the eyes no kind smile, the upward curve of her lips gave her an expression I had never seen before. The face looked disappointed and afraid. Her clothes weren't real clothes, but made from thin tissue paper to approximate a t-shirt on her top half, and loose-fitting shorts on the lower. The tissues was pale yellow and translucent, and under the sharp lighting made this Josie's arms and legs look all the more fragile. Her hair had been tied back in a manner the real Josie wore it on her ill days, and this was the one detail that failed to convince. The hair had been made from a substance I had never seen on any AF, and I knew this Josie wouldn't be happy with it. Having made my observations, my intention was to return to the cubicle before my absence from it was noticed. I walked carefully back past the two work counters and opened the purple door a small way. It made the usual humming noise, but I could tell from the voices below that no one had heard it. I could tell, too, that the mood was now even more filled with tension. "Paul!" The mother's voice was almost shouting. "You have determined to make this difficult from the start." "Come on, Josie," the father said. "Let's go right now." "But, Dad..." "Josie, we leave right now. Believe me, I know what I'm doing." "I don't think you do," the mother said, and Mr. Capaldi said over her, "Paul, come on, take it easy. If there's been a misunderstanding, I'll take full responsibility and I apologize." "How much more information do you need anyway?" the father asked. And now he was shouting too, but that could perhaps be because he was moving across the floor. "I'm surprised you're not requesting a sample of her blood." "Paul, be reasonable," the mother said. The father and Josie were saying something at the same time, but then Mr. Capaldi said over them, "It's okay, Chrissy. Let them go. Let them go. It doesn't change anything." "Mom, why don't I go with Dad just now? Then at least you all can stop yelling. If I stay here, she's gonna get worse." "I'm not angry at you, honey. I'm angry at your father. He's a child here." "Come on, animal, let's go." "I'll see you later, Mom, okay? See you, Mr. Capaldi." Let them go, Chrissy. Just let them go." When the entrance door closed behind them, its sound echoed all around the building. I remembered then that the car belonged to the mother, and wondered if the father had money for a taxi to take him and Josie to where he now intended them to go. It felt a little strange Josie hadn't thought to take me with her, but Mother was still here, and I remembered the day we had gone to Morgan's Falls. I stepped out onto the balcony, now making no effort to conceal myself or to soften my footsteps. Leaning over the steel rail, I saw Mother had sat down where earlier Josie had been sitting, the metal chair in front of the charts. Mr. Capaldi came across the floor till he was directly below me, and I could see the top of his bald head, but not his expression. He then continued to walk slowly towards the mother, as if slowness were a mark of his kindness, and stopped beside the tripod stand lamp. "I can see you're having misgivings," he said in a new, soft voice. "Let me tell you, I've seen this kind of thing happen many times before, and it's the ones who stick with it, keep faith, who win out." Damn right, I'm having misgivings. You mustn't let Paul sway you. Remember, you have thought this through and he hasn't. Paul is confused. It's not Paul. To hell with Paul. It's that portrait up there. As she said this, she glanced up in my direction and saw me. She stared past the dazzle of the ceiling lights. Then Mr. Capaldi also turned and looked up at me. Then he looked at Mother questioningly. The mother continued to gaze at me, her hand now raised to her forehead. Okay, Klara, she said finally. Come on down. As I descended the metal steps, I was interested to see that instead of anger, the mother showed anxiety. Across the floor but stopped while still several strides away. It was Mr. Capaldi who spoke first. What do you think, Klara? Am I doing a good job? She resembles Josie quite accurately. Then I guess that's a yes. By the way, Klara, how did you get on with the survey? I completed it, Mr. Capaldi. Then I'm grateful for your cooperation. And you stored the data safely? Yes, Mr. Capaldi, my responses were stored. There was a silence. While the mother continued to stare at me from her chair, Mr. Capaldi from beside his tripod light. I realized they were waiting for me to say something further, so I continued. It's a pity Josie and the father had left. Mr. Capaldi's work on the portrait may be temporarily impeded. It's okay, he said. Not a serious setback. I need to hear, the mother said. I need to hear, Klara, what you think about what you saw. I apologize for examining the portrait without permission, but in circumstances I felt it's best to do so. Okay, the mother said, and again I saw she was fearful rather than angry. Now, tell us what you thought, or rather, tell us what you think you saw up there. I had suspected for some time that Mr. Capaldi's portrait wasn't a picture or a sculpture, but an AF. I went in to confirm my speculation. Mr. Capaldi had done an accurate job of catching Josie's outward appearance, though perhaps the hips should be a little narrower. Thank you, Mr. Capaldi said. I'll bear that in mind. It's still a work in progress. The mother suddenly lowered her face into her hands, letting her hair hang over them. Mr. Capaldi turned to her with an expression of concern, but didn't move from this spot. The mother wasn't crying, though, she said through her hands, her voice muffled. Maybe Paul's right. Maybe this whole thing's been a mistake. Chrissy, you mustn't lose faith. She brought her head back up and her eyes were now angry. It's not a matter of faith, Henry. Why are you so fucking sure I'll be able to accept that AF up there, however well you do her? It doesn't work with Sal. Why would it work with Josie? What we did with Sal is no comparison. We have been through this, Chrissy. What we made with Sal was a doll, a bereavement doll, nothing more. We have come a long, long way since then. What you have to understand is this new Josie won't be an imitation. She really will be Josie. A continuation of Josie. You want me to believe that? Do you believe that? I do believe it. With every I'm worth, I believe it. I'm glad Klara went in there and looked. We need her on board now. We have needed that for a long time. Because it's Klara who will make the difference. Make it very, very different this time around. You have to keep faith, Chrissy. You can't weaken now. But will I believe in it? When the day comes, will I really? Excuse me, I said. I would like to say that there's a chance you will never need the new Josie. The present one may become healthy. I believe there's a good chance on this. I'll need, of course, the chance to make it so. But since you're so distressed, I would like to say this now. If If ever there comes such a sad day and Josie is obliged to pass away, I'll do everything in my power. Mr. Capaldi is correct. It won't be like the last time with Sal, because this time you'll have me to help you. I now understand why you ask me at every step to observe and learn, Josie. I hope that very sad day will never come, but if it does, then I'll use everything I have learned to train the new Josie up there to be as much like the former one as possible. Klara, the mother said in a firmer voice, and suddenly she had become partitioned into many boxes, far more at the friend's apartments when the father had first come in. In several of the boxes her eyes were narrow, while in others they were wide open and large. In one box there was room only for one single staring eyeball. I could see parts of Mr. Capaldi at the edge of some boxes, so I was aware that he had raised his hand into the air in vague gestures. Klara, the mother was saying, you have made your deductions well, and I'm grateful for what you have just said, but there's something you need to hear. No, Chrissy, not yet. Why not? Why the hell not? You said yourself we need Klara on board, that she's the one who will make the difference. There was a moment of silence, then Mr. Capaldi said, Okay, if that's how you want it, tell her. Klara, the mother said, we came here today. The main reason. It wasn't so Josie could sit more. We came here because of you. I understand, I said. I understood the survey. It was to test how well I've come to know Josie, how well I understand how she makes decisions, and why she has her feelings. I think the results will show that I'm well able to train Josie upstairs, but then again, it's wrong to give up hope. You still don't quite understand, Mr. Capaldi said. Although he was standing there before me, his voice seemed to come from the edges of my vision because all I could see still were the mother's eyes. Let me explain to her, Chrissy. It'll be easier coming from me. Klara, we are not asking you to train the new Josie. We are asking you to become her. That Josie you saw up there, as you noticed, is empty. If the day comes, I hope it doesn't. But if it does, we want you to inhabit that Josie up there with everything you have learned. You wish me to inhabit her? Chrissy chose you carefully with that in mind. She believed you to be the one best equipped to learn Josie, not just superficially, but deeply, entirely. Learn her till there's no difference between the first Josie and the second. Henry's telling you this now, the mother said, and suddenly she was no longer partitioned. Like it was carefully planned, but it was never like that. I didn't even know if I believed any of this would work. Maybe once I believed it could, but seeing that portrait up there, I don't know anymore. So you see what's being asked of you, Klara, Mr. Capaldi said. You're not being required to simply to mimic Josie's outward behavior. You're being asked to continue her for Chrissy and for everyone who loves Josie. But is that going to be possible? The mother said. Could she really become Josie for me? Yes, she can, Mr. Capaldi said. And now Klara's completed the survey up there, and I'll be able to give you scientific proof of it. Proof that she's already well on her way to assessing quite comprehensively all of Josie's impulses and desires. The trouble is, Chrissy, you are like me. We are both of us sentimental. We can't help it. Our generation still carry the old feelings. A part of us refuses to let go, the part that wants to keep believing there's something unreachable inside each of us, something that is unique and won't transfer. But there's nothing like that. We know that now. You know that now. For people of our age, it's hard one to let go. We have to let it go, Chrissy. There's nothing there. Nothing inside Josie that beyond the Claras of this world to continue. The second Josie won't be a copy. She'll be the exact same, and you'll have every right to love her just as you love Josie right now. It's not faith you need, only rationality. I had to do it. It was tough, but now it works for me just fine. And it will for you. The mother stood up and began walking across the room. You may be right, Henry, but I'm too tired to think anymore. I need to talk to Klara, talk with her alone. I'm sorry things got messy here. She went to where she left her bag hanging from one of the entrance hooks. I'm really glad Klara knows, Mr. Capaldi said. In fact, I'm relieved. He was following behind the mother as if reluctant to be left alone. Klara, the data may possibly highlight where you still need to put a little bit more effort, but I'm still glad we can speak more openly now. Come on, Klara, let's go. So, Chrissy, you're still okay about all this? We're fine, but I just need a break from now. She touched Mr. Capaldi's shoulder. Then we left through the main entrance, which he hurried to open for us. He followed us to the elevator and gave us a cheerful wave before the doors closed. On the descent, the mother took her oblong from her bag and stared at it. She put it away again as the elevator doors opened, and we walked out across the cracked concrete where the sun was making his evening patterns through the wire fences. I had thought there might be chance Josie and the father would be waiting there for us, but there was nobody. Only a tree's shadow falling across the mother's car and the sounds of the city nearby. Klara, honey, get in the front. But when we seated side by side, looking through the windshield at the anti-parking sign, Mother didn't start the car. I looked at Mr. Capaldi's building, the sun pattern on its wall and its fire escapes, and I thought it curious the building could be so dirty on the outside. The mother was again looking at her oblong. They had gone to some burger place. Josie says that she's fine, and that he's fine too. I hope they are enjoying themselves. I have things to say to you, but let's get out of this place. When we drove out of the yard into the neighborhood, we had to stop for a lady on a basket bicycle crossing our path. We stopped again for a few minutes later under a long-arm traffic signal, and even though there were no other cars in sight, soon after the signal changed, we passed a large brown building set back from the sidewalk with no windows at all, but with a large central chimney. Then we moved through an underbridge area full of shadows, puddles, and jump skates. We emerged out in the sun's pattern beside a building with a hiring now sign, and soon we were among pedestrians, and the sidewalks had small trees. Eventually the mother slowed, then stopped beside a sign saying, "We grind our own beef." The other cars had to pass noisily around us, but there was no anti-parking signs, though through the windshield we could see another underbridge area in front of us, and the cars that passed us were forming a line to enter it. "This is the place, they're inside there." Then she said, "Paul does have a point. They need to be by themselves sometimes, just them. They need that. We shouldn't always be with them, you see that, Klara?" "Of course. She misses her father, that's natural. So let's just sit out here for a while." Up ahead the signal color changed and we watched the cars move into the darkness beneath the bridge. "This must all be a shock for you," she said. "You must have questions." "I think I understand." "Oh? You understand? You understand what I'm asking of you? And it is me asking. Not Capaldi, not Paul. In the end, it's me." That's who comes down to. I'm asking you to make this work because if it happens, if it comes again, there's going to be no other way for me to survive. I came through it with Sal, but I can't do it again. So I'm asking you, Klara, do your best for me. They told me in the store you were remarkable. I've watched you enough to know that that's maybe true. If you set your mind to it, then who knows? It might work. And I'll be able to love you. We didn't look at each other, but kept gazing out through the windshield. Beside me, on my side, an apron man had emerged from the grind your own beef building and was sweeping the sidewalk. I don't blame Paul. He's entitled to his feelings. After Sal, he said we shouldn't risk it. So what if Josie doesn't get lifted? Plenty of kids aren't. But I could never have that for Josie. I wanted the best for her. I wanted her to have a good life, you understand, Klara? I called it, and now Josie's sick. Because of what I decided. You see how it feels for me? Yes, I'm sorry. Feeling sorry is not what I'm asking of you. I'm asking you to do what's within your power and think what it will mean for you. You'll be loved like nothing else in the world. Maybe one day I'll take up with another man, who knows, but I promise I will never love him the way I love you. You'll be Josie, and I'll always love you over everything else, so do it for me. I'm asking you to do it for me. Continue Josie for me. Come on, say something. I did wonder, if I were to continue Josie, if I were to inhabit the new Josie, then what would happen to all this? I raised my arms in the air, and for the first time, the mother looked at me. She glanced at my face, then down at my legs. Then she looked away, and she said, "Why does it matter? That's just fabric. Look, there's something else you might consider. Maybe it doesn't mean so much for you, me loving you, but here's something else. That boy, Rick, I can see he's something to you. Don't speak, let me speak. What I'm saying is that Rick worships Josie, always has done. If you continue Josie, you'll have not just me, but him. What will it matter that he's not lifted? We'll find a way to live together, away from everything. We'll stay out there, just by ourselves, away from all of this. You, me, Rick, his mother, if she wants. It could work, but you have to pull it off. You have to learn Josie in her entirety. You hear me, honey?" Until today, I said, until today now, I believe it was my duty to save Josie, to make her well. But perhaps this is a better way. The mother turned in her seat slowly, reached out her arms and started to hug me. There was no car equipment separating us, which made it hard for her to embrace me fully, but her eyes were closed in just the way they were when she and Josie rocked gently during a long embrace. I felt her kindness sweeping through me. Oh! Oh! I know who it is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You came in at the right time. There was a pause over there. Okay, sip of water. Okay, let's continue. Oh God. Oh, part 4 is really long. Alright, guys. Story getting intense. Okay. We are currently reading Kazuo, Ishiguro, Klara and the Sun, part 4, page 238. 238. I think I can finish the entire part 4 today. Don't think it's a problem. Okay, let's go. The drivers wishing to enter the underbridge area were annoyed at having to pass around Mother's car. Many gave me unfriendly stares as they went past, even though they could see that I was a passenger and not responsible. My concern, however, wasn't the passing cars or their unfriendly drivers, but what was going on at the moment inside the grind our own beef. Had my mind not been momentarily filled by the mother's words and her embrace, I might have been able to dissuade her from going inside. But no sooner had the embrace finished, and despite the remark about Josie and the father needing time to themselves, she suddenly vanished from my sight, slamming the car door behind her. As the minutes went by, I recalled the tense moments in Mr. Capaldi's building, and wondered if, despite the discourtesy, my own arrival inside the grind our own beef might be required in order to divert proceedings from scenes of similar upset for Josie. But before I could decide, the father appeared on the sidewalk on the other side of my window. He pointed the key device at the car and, when nothing happened, examined it more closely, then pressed again. This time, there were release noises around me. The mother must have locked me in, and walking around the traffic side, he quickly entered the car. He settled himself in the driving seat but hardly glanced my way, staring instead towards the underbridge area. Then he placed a hand on the steering wheel and began drumming his fingers on it. Amazing how she still has this vehicle, he said. I helped her choose it. For a while she was keen on a German car, but I told her this one would be more dependable. Well, I wasn't wrong. Well, at least it outlasted me. Since Mr. Paul is an expert engineer, I said, he must be very good at advising when choosing cars. Not really. Car engines were never my field, he went on, touching the steering wheel now with more sadness. Are Josie and Mother about to come out too? I asked. What? Oh, no, they're not. I don't think they'll come out anytime soon. Then he said, in fact, Christy suggested I drive off somewhere. He wants me far away while she talks more with Josie. He seemed less angry than in Mr. Capaldi's building. Indeed, he was now almost dreamy. To be honest, I wasn't unhappy when Chrissy came in. You would think I wouldn't be pleased, her interrupting like that. But the truth is, Josie and I weren't exactly having a light-hearted conversation. In fact, I was in a tight spot. Look. At last he looked at me. I'm sorry if I behaved badly towards you. I have a feeling I may have been impolite. Please do not be worried. I now understand very well why Mr. Paul may have been reluctant to greet me warmly. I have never been good at, relating to your kind. You have to excuse me. No, I didn't mind Chrissy breaking in on us because Josie was in the middle of asking me some tough questions, and I had no idea at all how to answer her. No fool, that Josie. He looked out again to the underbridge area and went on drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. After that visit, I wanted us to have a relaxing time. A coffee, something to eat. But then she asked me, since Capaldi is trying to help us, as I've been claiming, why do I hate him so much? How did Mr. Paul reply? I've always been useless at lying to her. So I guess I was, prevaricating, and I knew she could see right through me. That was when Chrissy came in. Does Josie suspect about this plan? The one in case she has to pass away? I don't know. Maybe she suspects it but doesn't dare to look at it, but she's no fool. All these tough questions. Why was I so against someone doing her portrait? Well, let Chrissy have a go at answering that. Suddenly, he placed a key device into the ignition slot. We have been instructed to get lost for a while. Until, to be precise, he looked at his watch. 5:45. Then we are to rendezvous at this sushi place. All of us apparently. Josie, Chrissy, the neighbors too. So unless you want to sit in the car park for an hour, I suggest we drive around. He started the engine, but the traffic line had been so extended we could not move. I put on the safety belt and waited. Then the lights changed up ahead and the car lurched forward. Shadow and light patterns moved all around us. Then we came out from the underbridge area into an avenue of tall buildings. We drove past a large creature with numerous limbs and eyes, and then, even when, as I watched, a crack appeared down its center. As it divided itself, I realized that it had been all along two separate people, a runner and a dog-walk woman, moving in opposite directions for an instant happened to be passing one another. Then came a store with a sign saying, "Eat in, take out," and in front of it, a lost baseball cap on the sidewalk. Was there any place special you wanted to go? The father asked. Josie mentioned something about your old store. She said that we would pass it early today. As soon as I heard him say this, I recognized the opportunity it represented and exclaimed, perhaps too loudly, "Oh, yes!" Then, controlling myself, I said more quietly, "If you don't mind, I would very much like that." She was saying that it may not be there anymore, that it might have moved on. I'm not certain. Even so, if Mr. Paul could take us to that area, it would make me very happy. Fine, we have time to kill. At the intersection, he turned to the right, saying as he did so, "I wonder how Chris is getting on, what they're talking about right now. How maybe she managed to change the topic." There was now more traffic, and we moved slowly behind other vehicles. The sun was sometimes visible, but he was already getting quite low, and the tall buildings often blocked his view. The sidewalks were busy with office workers at the end of their work, and we passed a man on a ladder doing something to a shiny red notice that says rotisserie chicken. The pedestrians crossing and tow-away zone signs went by, and I could sense we were coming nearer to the store. "Can I ask you something?" the father asked. "Yes, of course." I think Josie's still largely in the dark, but I don't know about you. How much you have guessed before? How much you have found out today? Perhaps you wouldn't mind telling me what you do know? "Before I visited Mr. Capaldi today," I said, "I had suspected some things, but I had been ignorant of many others. Now, after this visit, I can understand Mr. Paul's unease, and I can understand his initial coldness towards me." I apologize again for that. So, they explained it all to you. How you will fit into the picture? Yes, I believe they told me everything. And what do you think? Do you suppose you can pull it off, perform this role? It won't be easy, but I believe if I continue to observe Josie carefully, it will be within my abilities. Then let me ask you something else. Let me ask you this. Do you believe in the human heart? I don't believe simply the organ, obviously. I'm speaking in a poetic sense. The human heart. Do you think there's such a thing? Something that makes each of us special and individual? And if we just suppose that there is, then don't you think, in order to truly learn Josie, you have to learn not just her mannerisms, but what's deeply inside her? Wouldn't you have to learn her heart? Yes, certainly. And that would be difficult, no? something beyond your wonderful capabilities, because an impersonation wouldn't do, however skillful. You have to learn her heart and learn it fully, and you will never become Josie in any sense that matters. A public bus had stopped beside an abandoned fruit boxes. As the father steered around it, the car behind us made angry horn noises. Then there were more horns. Then there were more angry horns, and they were further away, but these were further away and not aimed at us. The heart you speak of, I said. It might indeed be the hardest part of Josie to learn. It might not be like a house with many rooms. Even so, a devoted AF, given time, could walk through each of those rooms, study them carefully in turn until they become like her own home. The father sounded our own horn at the car trying to enter the traffic lane from a side street. But then suppose you step into one of the rooms, he said, and discovered another room within it, and inside that room another room still, room within rooms within rooms. Isn't that how it might be? Trying to learn Josie's heart? No matter how long you wandered through those rooms, wouldn't there always be others you had not yet entered? I considered this for a moment, then said, Of course, a human heart is bound to be complex, but it must be limited. Even if Mr. Paul is talking in the poetic sense, there'll be an end to what there is to learn. Josie's heart may well resemble a strange house with rooms inside rooms, but if this were the best way to save Josie, then I would do my utmost. And I believe there's a chance that I'll be able to succeed. For the next few moments, we drove without talking. Then, as we passed a building saying Nail Boutique, and immediately after it a row of peeling poster walls, he said, According to Josie, your old stories in this district. This might have been so, but the surroundings weren't yet familiar to me. I said to him, Mr. Paul has spoken very frankly. Perhaps now he would allow me in turn to speak frankly to him. Feel free. My old store wasn't the true reason I had asked you to drive into this district. No? When we came this way earlier today, not far from the store, we passed a machine. It was used by overhaul men, and it was creating terrible pollution. Okay, go on. It's not easy to explain, but it's very important. Mr. Paul now believes what I am about to say. This machine must be destroyed. That's the real reason I asked to be driven here. It must be somewhere nearby. It's easily identified because it has the names coatings on its body. It has 3 funnels and each of them emits terrible pollution. And you want to find this machine now? Yes, and to destroy it. Because it causes pollution. It's a terrible machine. I was leaning forward, already looking left and right. And how exactly do you intend to destroy it? I am not certain. This is why I wish to be frank with Mr. Paul. I am requesting his help. Mr. Paul is an expert engineer as well as an adult. Are you asking me how to vandalize a machine? But first, we must find it. For instance, please may we turn down this street? I can't turn there. That's one way. I don't like pollution any more than you do, but isn't this taking things a little too far? I am unable to explain further, but Mr. Paul must trust me. It's very important for Josie's sake, for her health. How is this going to help Josie? I'm sorry, I am not able to explain. Mr. Paul has to trust me. If we can only find the coatings machine and destroy it, I believe it will lead to Josie's full recovery. Then it won't matter about Mr. Capaldi or his portrait or how well I'm able to learn Josie. The father considered this. All right, he said eventually. Let's at least give this a try. You last saw this thing where, did you say? We continued to move and I spotted the RPO building, the fire escape buildings beside it, rapidly and approaching us. The sun was falling behind in the familiar way, and then we were passing the store itself. I saw the colored bottles display and the recessed lighting notice, but I was so concerned I would miss the coatings machine I had hardly gave them attention. As we went over the pedestrian crossing, the father said, "I'm wondering if this street's taxis only. Look at them everywhere. This turning, perhaps, please, if possible." The coatings machine hadn't been where I'd seen it earlier, and as the street grew unfamiliar, I gazed in every direction. The sun sometimes shone brightly through the gaps between buildings, and I wondered if he was wishing to encourage me or simply watching and monitoring my progress. When we turned into yet another street and there was again no sign of the coatings machine, my growing panic may have been obvious because the father said in a kinder voice than any he had so far used towards me, "You really believe in this, don't you? That this will help Josie?" Yes, I do." Something seemed to change within him. He sat forward, then like me, he was looking left and right with urgent eyes. "Hope," he said. "Damn thing never leaves you alone." He shook his head almost resentfully. Then there was now a new strength about him. "Okay, a vehicle, you say, one used by construction workers. It has wheels, but I don't think it's a vehicle as such. It needs to be towed everywhere it goes. It has coatings written on its body, and it's pale yellow." He glanced at his watch. "The construction guys may have finished for the day. Let me try a few things." The father began to drive more skillfully. We left behind the other vehicles, the passerbys, the storefronts, and entered the smaller streets, shaded by windowless buildings and large walls bright with cartoon writings. Sometimes the father would stop, reverse, and then steer slowly down a narrow spaces beside wire mesh fences, on the other side of which we could observe parked trucks and dirty cars. "See anything?" Whenever I shook my head, he would make the car lurch forward again. In a way that made me anxious, we would strike a fire hydrant or the corner of the building as we turned sharply around it. We looked into more yards, and once we entered between two crookedly open gates, even though there was a sign hanging from one saying, "Strictly no admittance," and drove around a yard filled with vehicles, stacked crates, and construction cranes at the far end. But there was still no coatings machine, and the father then took us into the shadow neighborhood with broken sidewalks and lonely passerbys. He steered into another narrow lane beside a looming floor for Lee's building, and behind this building was yet another yard bound by wire mesh fencing. "There, Mr. Paul, there it is." The father jerk-stopped the car. The yard was on my side, and so I placed my head right against the window, and behind me the father was adjusting his seat to see better. "That one there with the funnels? Yes, we have found it." I didn't take my gaze from the coatings machine while the father reversed the car slowly. Then we stopped once more. "That main entrance has a chain on it," he said. "But the side entrance there?" "Yes, the small entrance is open. A passerby could enter on foot." I released the safety belt and was about to get out. Then I felt the father's hand on my arm. "I wouldn't go in there until you decided exactly what you intend to do. It looks all ramshackle. But you never know. There might be alarm, or there may be surveillance. You may not have time to stand around and think." "Yes, you're right." "Are you quite certain that you have the correct machine?" "Quite certain. I can see it clearly from here, and there's no doubt." "After disabling it, you say will help Josie?" "Yes." "So, how do you propose to go about doing that?" I stared at the coatings machine, sitting near the center of the yard, separating from the other parked vehicles. The sun was falling between two silhouette buildings in the mid-distance, overlooking the yard. His rays weren't for the moment blocked by either building, and the edges of the parked vehicles were shining. "I feel so foolish," I finally said. "No, it's not so easy," the father said. "On top of which, what you are proposing would count as criminal damage." "Yes, however, If the people up there in those high windows over there happen to see anything, I'm sure they'll be happy to see the cooking machines being destroyed. They would know just they would know just how awful a machine it is. That may be so, but how do you propose to do it? The father was now leaning back in his seat, one arm quite relaxed on the wheel, and I had the impression he had already arrived at a possible solution, but for some reason was holding back from revealing it. Mr. Paul is an expert engineer, I said, turning to face him directly. I was hoping that he would be able to think of something. But the father kept gazing through the windshield at the yard. I couldn't explain it to Josie earlier in the cafe, he said. I couldn't explain to her why I hate Capaldi so much, why I can't bring myself to be civil towards him, but I would like to try and explain it to you, Klara, if you don't mind. His switch of subject was highly unwelcomed, but anxious not to lose his goodwill, I said nothing and waited. I think I hate Capaldi because deep down I suspect he may be right, that what he claims is true, that science has now proven beyond doubt that nothing is so unique about my daughter, nothing there our modern tools can't excavate, copy, transfer, that people have been living with one another all this time, centuries, loving and hating each other, and all on a mistaken premise, a kind of superstition we kept going while we didn't know better. That's how Capaldi sees it, and there's a part of me that fears that he's right. Chrissy, on the other hand, isn't like me. She may not know it yet, but she'll never let herself be persuaded. If the moment ever comes, never mind how well you play your part, Klara. Never mind how much she wishes it to work, Chrissy just won't be able to accept it. She's just too old-fashioned. Even if she knows she's going against the science and math, she still won't be able to do it. She just won't stretch that far. But I'm different. I have a kind of coldness inside me that she lacks. Perhaps it's because I'm an expert engineer, as you put it. This is why I find it so hard to be civil around people like Capaldi. But when they do what they do, say what they say, it feels like they are taking from me what I hold most precious in this life. Am I making sense? Yes, I understand Mr. Paul's feelings. I let a quiet few seconds go by, then continued. It seems then that from everything Mr. Paul says that it's even more important that what Mr. Capaldi proposes is never put to the test. If we can make Josie healthy, then the portrait, my learning her, none of it will matter. So I ask you again, please advise me how I might destroy the Cootings machine. I have a feeling Mr. Paul has an idea how we might do it. Yes, a possibility has occurred to me, but I was just hoping a better idea might come along. Unfortunately, it's looking like that's not going to happen. Please tell me, something may change at any moment and this opportunity will pass. Okay, well, here it is. Oh, that machine will contain inside a Sylvester Broad generation unit. Middle market, fuel efficient, robust enough, but no real protection. It means that a machine can stand any amount of dust, smoke, rain. But if anything, let's say, with the high acrylamide content got inside the machine, for example, PEG9 solution, it wouldn't be able to handle it. It would be like putting gasoline into diesel engine, except a lot worse. If you introduce PEG9 in there, it will rapidly polymerize. The damage will likely to be terminal. PEG9 solution. Yes. Does Mr. Paul know how we might now obtain PEG9 solution at a short notice? As it happens, I do. He went on looking at me for a few seconds and said, you'll be carrying a certain quantity of PEG9 there, inside your head. I see. I believe there's usually a small cavity just there at the back of your head where it meets the neck. This isn't my areas of expertise. Capaldi would know much more, but my guess is that you could afford to lose a small amount of PEG9 without significantly affecting your well-being. If we are able to extract the solutions from me, would that be sufficient to destroy the Cootings machine? This really isn't my area, but my guess is that you might be carrying approximately 500 milliliters. Even half of that would be sufficient to incapacitate a middle market machine such as that one. Having said that, I have to emphasize, I am not advocating we go down this route. Anything that jeopardizes your abilities would jeopardize Capaldi's plan, and Chrissy wouldn't want that. My mind was filling with great fear, but I said, Mr. Paul believes if we could extract the solution, we could destroy the Cootings machine. That's what I believe, yes. Is it possible Mr. Paul has suggested this course not only to destroy Cooting machines, but also to damage Klara and thus Mr. Capaldi's plans? That's very thought did cross my mind too, but if I really want to damage you, Klara, I think there are far simpler ways. The truth is, you started me hoping again. Hoping what you say might be for real. How would we extract the solution? Just a small incision below the ear. The either ear would do. We would require a tool, something with a sharp point or edge. We would need to pierce the outer layer. Beyond that, well, there should be a small valve that I can loosen, then tighten back again with my fingers. He has been searching through the mother's glove compartment while saying this. Now he produced a plastic bottle of water. Okay, this would do to catch the solution. And there, it's not ideal, but here's a tiny screwdriver. If I sharpen the edge a little more... He trailed off, holding the tool up to the light. After that, just a case of walking over there, carefully pouring the solution down one of those nozzles. We should use the central one. It's most likely connected directly to the Sylvester unit. Will I lose my abilities? As I said, your overall performance shouldn't be greatly impaired, but this is not my area. There may be some effects on your cognitive abilities, but since your essential energy source is solar, you shouldn't be affected to any significant degree. He lowered the window on his side, holding out the plastic bottle, emptying the water out onto the ground outside. This is your call, Klara. If you want, you can just drive away from here. We have another, let's see, 20 minutes before our rendezvous with the rest of our party. I stared at the yard again through the wire mesh fencing, trying to control my fear. My view from the car had remained unpartitioned, and the sun was still watching from between the two silhouette buildings. You know, Klara, I don't even know what this is about, but I want what's best for Josie, exactly the same as you. So I'm willing to grasp at any chance that comes our way. I turned to him with a smile and nodded. Yes, I said. Then let's try. Wee! Wow, that's almost 2 hours of reading. We are halfway through part 4. Part 4 is really insanely long, but this is where I initially planned to stop, but I think I can continue. I don't think it's a problem. I think probably I can finish by 6:30 or something. But yeah, give me a quick rest. Alright. We can continue. Sorry, I'm yawning. Holy shit. Alright. I'll chit chat more after I finish reading. Alright. We are. Wow, this book is giving me the heebie jeebies. This is gonna be our future, guys. Okay, we are currently still reading part 4 of Kazuo Ishiguro's Klara and the Sun. We are at page 253 now. Now about 20 more pages to go, I think, and no, sorry, 30 more pages to go, and we'll be done with part 4. Let's go. Sitting beside the sushi's cafe window, looking out at the shadows growing longer outside the theater, I had become excited by the possibility that the sun might conceivably pour in his special nourishment straight away, through this very window, to Josie, now sitting across the table from me. But I realized how tired the sun must be, that he would all but finish for the day, and that it was both disrespectful and unreasonable to expect such immediate response. A small hope continued to linger in my head, and I watched Josie closely, but I soon accepted that I have to wait until the following morning at the very earliest. I'd also realized the reason I couldn't see so clearly through the sushi cafe's window was because it was dusty and smeared, and not so much to do with what occurred in the yard. Indeed, despite its constant billowing in the breeze, I could still read the large cloth banner above the theater and entrance saying, "Blissfully brilliant," and I had no difficulty deciphering the people arriving to join those already milling around outside the theater. Even each time more people come, there would be greetings and humorous shouts. I couldn't hear their words clearly, but there was thick glass separating us, so this too was consistent with the prevailing conditions. Our task in the yard hadn't delayed us unduly, but by the time Father and I had finally located the correct sushi place, Josie, Rick, Mother, and Miss Helen had already been sitting for several minutes around the table beside the window. The father had greeted everyone cheerfully, as though there hadn't been any tension at Mr. Capaldi's, but soon afterwards the mother had risen and gone out to join the crowd outside, her oblong held to her ear. Now across the table, the father was turning pages of Rick's notebook and making appreciative sounds, but I was concerned at how uncharacteristically quiet Josie had become, and soon the father noticed this too. "You okay there anymore?" "I'm fine, Dad." "We've been on the go for a long time now. Do you want to go back to the apartment?" "I'm not tired. I'm not sick. I'm okay, Dad. Just let me sit here." Rick, sitting beside Josie, was also looking at her with concern. "Hey, Josie, do you fancy finishing this for me?" He said this quietly, almost into her ear, as he slid the remainder of his carrot cake towards her. It might give you some energy. I don't need energy, Ricky. I'm fine. I just want to sit here, that's all. The father looked carefully at Josie, then turned back to Rick's notebook. Is that really interesting, Rick? Rick, darling, Miss Helen said, it just occurs to me that it was an excellent idea to bring your diagrams along, but perhaps it's best you don't offer them to Vance unless he specifically asks you. Mom, we've been over this. It's just that it might look inappropriate, too eager. This is supposed to be just a social meeting after all, a spontaneous encounter. Mom, how can this be spontaneous when it's been so carefully set up and we have come in specially for it? I mean, darling, you must try and behave as though it's spontaneous. That's what will work best with Vance, only if he asks specifically to see some of your work. I understand, Mom. It's under control. Rick looked tense. And I wished to do something to give him reassurance, but I was across the table from him and I couldn't reach over to touch his arm or shoulder. The father was again looking at Josie, but she didn't seem to me unwell so much as simply lost in her own thoughts. Drones were never my area, the father said after a while, but this, Rick, is truly impressive and exciting. Then to Miss Helen, lifted or not, genuine ability has to get noticed, unless this world's completely crazy now. You're always encouraging me, Mr. Arthur, Rick said. Right from when I first started getting into all this. So much of what you showed me back then forms the foundation of what you see here. That's kind, Rick, but I'm sure it's entirely unwarranted. Drone technology was never my area, and I doubt it if I was ever much help to you, but I appreciate you saying that. Through the window I could see now the sun's last patterns of the day falling across the black suit women with the black suit women with bow ties, the theater waistcoats officials handing out leaflets, the bright costume couples, the musicians with small guitars moving amidst the crowd, snatching of their music coming through the glass. Hey, animal, did your mother happen to say something to upset you? This isn't like you, sitting there so quiet. I'm fine, Dad. I'm just not like a show today, okay? I just can't sparkle and entertain all day. Sometimes I just want to sit and chill out. You know, we do miss you, Paul, Miss Helen said. Is it 4 years already? Oh, look, even more people arriving. I wonder when they'll let them go inside. It's just as well. There's no traffic allowed through here. Where's Chrissy now? Is she still out there? I see her, Mom. She's still on her phone. I'm so glad she's with us today. So reassuring. She is such a good friend to me. And I do appreciate all of you too, being here like this, extending your support to Rick and to me. She looked around the table, appearing to make a special point of including me in her gaze. I won't pretend I'm not getting nervous, the hour being almost upon us, and not just on Rick's accounts, if I'm being honest. Did I ever tell you, Paul? The man we're about to meet, he and I were once passionate, not just for a few weekends or a few months, but for years. Mom, please. Should you get a chance to talk to him, Paul, I think you'll find you have certain things in common. For instance, he has a fascistic leanings. He has always done, though I always try not to notice. Mom, for God's sake. Now, Helen, easy there, the father said. Are you implying that It's only because of what you were saying a few moments ago, Paul, about your community? No, Helen, I can't have this. Not in front of the kids too. What I was saying earlier has nothing to do with fascism. We have no aggressive agenda beyond defending ourselves should the need arise. Where you live, Helen, maybe you don't have to worry about it yet, and I sincerely hope that it will be that way for a long time. Where I am, it's different. Then why, Dad, don't you move out of there? Why keep living in a place with gang and guns? The father seemed pleased that Josie had finally participated. Because that's my community, Josie. It's not nearly as bad as this makes it sound. I like it there. I'm sharing my life with some very fine people, and most of them came down to the same road I did. It's become clear to all of us now there are many different ways to lead a decent and full life. Are you saying that you are glad that you lost your job? In many ways, Josie, yes. It's not like I really lost my job. It's all been a part of the changes. Everyone's had to find new ways to live their lives. I do apologize, Paul, Miss Helen, for suggesting that you and your new friends were fascists. I shouldn't have done so. It's just that you did say that you were all white people and all from the ranks of former professional elites. You did say that, and that you were having to arm yourself quite extensively against other types, which all does sound a little on the fascistic side. Helen, I will not have this. Josie knows it's not that way, and I don't like her even hearing what you say. I don't like Rick hearing it either. It's just not true. There are different groups where we live. I'm not denying it. I didn't make the rules, and it's just the way it naturally divided. And if another group won't respect us and what we have, they need to know. They'll have to fight on their hands. Mom's way out of order, Rick said. She's getting anxious, that's all. You have to excuse her. Don't worry, Nick. Don't worry, Rick. I've known your mother a long time and I'm very fond of her. His name is Vance, Miss Helen said. The man we are waiting to meet. Rick and I are so grateful you are here. You're all here to lend moral support. But from here on, we are on our own. Let me tell you, Paul, there was a time when Vance was quite besotted with me. Rick, darling, don't pull that face. Rick's never met him. This is all before his time. Oh, there was that one occasion. I suppose that hardly counts. When you see him, Paul, I dare say you will wonder what on earth I saw in him. But I assure you, he was once even more handsome than you are. Oddly, there's more success he had in life the less handsome he became. Now he's rich and influential and looks appalling. Still, I'll try and see the handsome young man that he once was within all those folds of flesh. I do wonder if he'll do as much for me. What's happening out there anymore? Can you see your mother? She's still on her phone. I guess she's mad at me. She probably won't come back in as long as I'm sitting in here. Perhaps the father was hoping someone would contradict him, but no one did. Miss Helen even raised her eyebrows and made a short laughing sound. Then he said, Nearly time, Rick darling. I suppose we ought to go out there. When I hear her say this, a fear filled my mind. I was no longer certain that the effects from what had occurred in the yard weren't growing more pronounced as the passing minutes, and that my new condition wouldn't become obvious to everyone if I attempted to negotiate the unfamiliar terrain outdoors. I do wonder, Miss Helen was saying, when Van suggested meeting outside a theater if he realized there might be a show about to start and crowd gathering. We should go out there. He might come early and the crowd would confuse him. Rick placed a hand on Josie's shoulder and asked quietly, Are you sure you're okay, Josie? I swear I'm okay. Just so you go and do your best, Ricky boy. That's what I'm wanting more than anything. That's right, Father said. And just remember, you've got talent. Well, maybe we should all leave now. He rose to his feet, and he did so. His gaze fell on me, examining me carefully, more carefully than would have normally. I immediately became worried that others would notice, even though the incision was well hidden under my hair. Then the father's gaze moved once more to Josie. Animal, we need to get you back. Let's go and find your mother. As we came out of the sushi cafe, the sun was making his final patterns for the day. I let go of any small hope that he might send his special help in the short time remaining. I would now hear without hindrance the theater people's voices and music, and notice how the street light outside the theater entrance was becoming their main light source. Indeed, for a moment I thought the theater people were trying to circle around the street light in a previously agreed formation. But then Their pattern dissolved, and I saw that the crowd shape was shifting randomly. The father and Miss Helen were a few paces in front of me, striding towards the crowd, while Rick and Josie were just behind, walking so close that I had been obliged to halt suddenly. They would have collided with me. I could hear Josie saying, "No, Rick, later. I'll tell you about it. Let's just say for now Mom's having one of her definitely weird days." But what did she say? What's going on? Look, Ricky, it's not what's important right now. What's important is the guy you're about to meet and what you're going to say to him. But I can see that you are upset. I am not upset, Ricky, but I will get upset, absolutely upset, if you don't focus and do your best with this guy. This is important. Important to you and important for us. I had thought that once I was no longer observing them through the glass, the theater people would become more distinct. But now I was in their midst. Their figures become more simplified, as if constructed out of cones and cylinders made from smooth cards. Their clothes, for instance, were devoid of the usual creases and folds, and even their faces under the streetlight appeared to have curated by cleverly placing the flat surfaces into complex arrangement to create a sense of contouring. We kept walking until the noise was all around us. At one point I stopped and reached back for Josie's arm, but she was no longer behind me, and even though I could hear her voice saying to Ricky, "There's Mom over there," when I turned to it, I saw neither Josie nor Rick, but smooth forehead coming towards my own face. Someone pushed my back, though not unkindly, and then I heard the father's voice, and turning again, I saw him and Miss Helen standing beside a stranger's elbow. I could hear the father saying, "I don't want to say this back there in front of the kids, but Helen, look, it's all well calling me a fascist. Call me whatever you want. But where you are living now, it may not always remain so peaceful. You hear what happened in this very city last week? I'm not saying that you are in danger right now, but you need to think ahead. When I speak to Chrissy about this, she just shrugs. But you need to think about this. Think ahead with Rick as much as about yourself." "Oh, but I am thinking ahead, Paul. Why do you suppose that we are here today? Why do you suppose I'm looking left and right for my long-lost lover? I'm thinking ahead, and I'm planning. And if I've done so correctly, Rick will soon be elsewhere, and not, I hope, in any community barricading itself with weapons. I mean for Rick to do well, and for that I need Vance's help." "Oh, where can he have got to? Perhaps he went to the wrong theater." Rick's turned into a fine young man. I hope he's able to find a path through this mess that we bequeathed to his generation. But if things don't go so well, Helen, either for you or for him, then I want you to get in touch. I want to find you both a place within our community." "That's very sweet of you, Paul, and I'm so sorry if I was being rude earlier. This might surprise you, but I'm not actually angry about the way we have become. If one child has more ability than the other, then it's only right the brighter one gets the opportunities. The responsibilities too. I accept that. But what I won't accept is that Rick can't have a decent life. I refuse to accept this world has become so cruel. Rick wasn't lifted, but he can still go far, do very well." "I wish him the very best. All I'm saying is that there are all kinds of ways to lead a successful life." Many faces had been pushing in around me, but now a new one appeared in front of the others and kept moving closer till it almost touching mine. Only then I recognized Rick and let out a sound of surprise. "Klara, do you know what's up with Josie?" he asked. "Did something happen earlier?" "I don't know what was said between Josie and the mother," I said, "but I have very good news. The task that was given to me that evening you helped me to reach Mr. McBain's barn is now being completed. It's a task that I so wish to complete, but for a long time I couldn't see how to do so. Rick, it's really been done." "That's wonderful, but I'm not sure I know what you're talking about. I can't explain yet. and I was obliged to give up something, but that doesn't matter at all because now we can have hope again. Ever more cones and cylinders, or what appeared to be fragments of them, were squeezing into my space left around me. I then realized one of the fragments, a shape moving, is to replace Rick. It was in fact Josie. Once I had recognized her, she became immediately more distinct, and I had no further difficulty holding her in my mind. "Hey, Klara, this here's Cindy. She was waitressing our table earlier. She knows about your old store." There was a touch on my arm, and I heard someone exclaim, "Hey, I used to love your stores." When I turned towards the voice, I saw two tall funnels, one inserted into the other, the upper one tilting slightly towards me. When I smiled and said, "How do you do?" the funnels went on. "I was telling your owner here. I walked past it last week and it has become a furniture place. Hey, I'm sure I saw you in that window once. Klara wants to know where they moved to, Cindy. Do you know?" "I'm not sure if they moved." Someone was tapping my arm, but before me were now many fragments. They appeared to be solid walls. I had also started to suspect that many of these shapes weren't really three-dimensional, but had been sketched onto a flat surface using clever shading technique that gave illusions of roundness and depth. I then realized that the figures now beside me, leading me away, was the mother. She was saying almost into my ear, "Klara, I know we said a lot of things earlier, in the car, I mean, but you have to understand, I was thinking about 3-4 things at once. All I'm saying is don't take too seriously anything we said. You understand, right?" "You mean when we were in the car alone? When we parked near the bridge?" "Yes, that's what I meant. I'm not saying we are going back on anything, but I'm just saying so you know, okay? This whole thing's getting so confusing, and Paul doesn't help. Look at him, what he's telling her now." Not far from us, the father was leaning forward so that his face was so close to Josie's, saying something earnestly. "He's so full of shit these days," the mother said, and began to go over to them. But before she could do so, an arm came out of the crowd and grabs her wrist. "Chrissy," Miss Helen's voice said, "leave them alone for another minute. They don't get to be together much these days." "Paul's distributed his brand of wisdom quite enough for one day, it seems to me," Mother said. "And now look, they're quarreling." "They are not quarreling, Chrissy. I assure you they are not. So let them talk to each other." "Helen, I really don't need you to interpret for me. I can still read my own daughter and husband." "Ex-husband, Chrissy. And exes are unfathomable, as I am having underlined this very moment. Vance swore he had not kept us waiting, but now look, we weren't married, as you and Paul were, so bitter aftertastes have a different color. Different flavor. But don't underestimate it, Chrissy. I haven't seen him in 14 years, and that only fleetingly, quite by chance. Is it possible we passed each other in this crowd and didn't recognize each other?" "Do you regret it, Helen?" the mother asked suddenly. "Do you know what I mean? Do you regret it, not going ahead with Ricky?" For a moment, Miss Helen kept looking towards where the father and Miss Josie were talking to one another. Then she said, "Yes, if I'm honest, Chrissy, the answer's yes. Even after seeing what it's brought you, I feel I didn't do my best for him. I feel I didn't even think it through the way you and Paul did. I was somewhere else in my mind and I just let the moment go past. Perhaps that's what I regret more than anything else, that I never loved him enough to make a proper decision one way or the other." "It's okay." The mother placed a gentle hand on Miss Helen's upper arm. "It's okay. It's difficult, and I know that. But I'm doing my best now. I'm doing my best for him this time around. I just need former lover to turn up. Oh, that's him there! Vance! Excuse me. Would you care to sign our petition?" The man who had appeared in front of the mother had a white painted face and black hair. The mother took a quick step as if the white face material would come off on her and said, "What's it about?" "We are protesting the proposal to clear the Oxford building. There's been currently 423 post-employed people living inside it, 86 of them children. Neither Luxdale or the city have offered any reasonable plan regarding their relocation. I didn't hear any more of what the black and white man was saying to Mother because Father moved in front of me and said to her, "Jesus, Chrissy, what have you been saying to our daughter?" He was weeping. He was keeping his voice down, but he sounded annoyed. "She's acting really strange. Did you by any chance tell her?" "I didn't, Paul. No." The mother's voice was uncharacteristically uncertain. "At least not about all that. So what exactly did you... We just talk about the portrait, that's all. We can't keep everything hidden from her. She suspects so many things, and if we don't speak to her about any of it, we'll lose her trust." "You told her about the portrait?" "I only told her that it wasn't a painting, that it was a kind of sculpture. She remembers Sal's doll, of course." "Jesus Christ, I thought we agreed. Josie's not a small child, Paul. She can figure things out, and she's right to expect us to talk to her honestly." "Rick!" I recognized Miss Helen's voice behind me. "Rick, come on! Vance is here. I found him. Come and say hello." "Oh, Chrissy, I want to meet Vance, a dear old friend. Here he is." Mr. Vance was wearing a high-rank suit with button-up white shirt and blue tie. He was as bald as Mr. Capaldi and less in height than Miss Helen. He was looking all around himself as though puzzled. "Hello, nice to meet you," he said to the mother, then Miss Helen. "So what's happening here? Is everyone going to this show?" Rick and I, we're just waiting for you, Vance, exactly as you told us." "Oh, how wonderful to see you again. You've hardly changed." "You're looking very good too, Helen. But what's going on here? Where's your son?" "Ricky, over here." I could now see Rick standing a little way away, his hand raised in response. Then he started to move through the fragments towards us. I couldn't tell if Mr. Vance, who was looking in the correct direction, had identified Rick or not. In any case, at that moment, one of the theater's waistcoat officials came and stood between Mr. Vance and the approaching Rick. "Do you already have a ticket for this show?" the waistcoat official asked. "Or maybe you do, but you would be interested in this upgrade?" Mr. Vance stared at him, saying nothing. Then Rick came past the waistcoat official and Mr. Vance said, "Hey, this is your boy. He looks terrific." "Thank you, Vance," Miss Helen said quietly. Hello, sir," Rick said, and his smile was like the one he had when he first greeting the adults at Josie's interaction meeting. "Hi, Rick. So I'm Vance, old friend of your mother. Heard a lot about you." "It's kind of you to meet us here, sir." "Oh, so here you are." Josie suddenly filled the space before me. Beside her was a girl of 18 who I realized was Cindy, the waitress, far less simplified now than I had last seen her. "Yeah, I don't think your store actually moved," Cindy said, "but there's a new store inside the Delanceys, and maybe some of the AFs from your old store would have been relocated there." "Excuse me," a lady in a high-ranked blue dress who I estimated as 46 years old came in front of me, but facing Josie and Cindy. "We're just wondering if you were intending to bring this machine into the theater." "Hey, what's it to do with you if we were?" Cindy said. "These are sought-after seats," the lady said. "They shouldn't be taken by machines. If you take this machine into the theater, we'll have to raise an objection." "I don't see why it's any of your business." "It's okay," Josie said. "Klara isn't going to the show, and neither am I." "That's beside the point," Cindy said. "I'm angry about this." Then to the lady she said, "I don't know you. Who are you? Just coming up speaking to us like that." "So this is your machine?" the lady asked Josie. "Clara's my AF, if that's what you're asking." "First they take the jobs, then they take the seats at the theater." "Klara?" The father had brought his face close up to mine. "Are you still feeling okay?" "Yes, I'm fine." "Are you sure?" "Perhaps I was a little disoriented earlier, but now I'm fine." "Good. Look, I have to be on my way very soon. So I'm wondering if you tell me now what did we do back there?"
and what we hope will happen as a result. Mr. Paul trusted me, and that was wonderful. Unfortunately, as I said before, I cannot tell you anything more without jeopardizing the very thing we achieved. But I believe there's real hope now. Please be patient and wait for good news. As you please. I'll call you in the apartment in the morning to say goodbye to Josie, so I may see you then. The mother's voice said something behind me. We'll talk about this back at the apartment. We can't talk here. But that's all I wanted to say, Josie's voice said. I definitely don't want you sealing it up the way you did with Sal's. I don't want it so Klara gets sole use of my room and she gets to come and go as she pleases. But why are we even talking about this? You're going to get well, honey. We don't have to think about any of this. Oh, Klara, here you are. Miss Helen had appeared beside me. Klara, I've just been speaking with Chrissy. You are to come with us for now. With you? Chrissy wants to take Josie back to the apartment and have a quiet word with her, just the two of them. So stay with us for now. Chrissy will come and collect you in half an hour. Then leaning forward, she spoke quietly into my ear. Can you see? Rick and Vance are really hitting it off. All the same, dear Rick will really appreciate having you beside him as he goes through this. It could still be something of an ordeal. Yes, of course, but the mother. She'll come and collect you in very good time. Don't worry. She just need a few minutes alone with Josie. What I want more than anything else, Mr. Vance said with a laugh coming towards us, is for us to get out of this crush. Over there, that diner, that looks just fine. Just somewhere we can sit down, look at one another and talk. There were arms circling me, and I realized Josie was holding me in an embrace, not unlike the one she held me in that day at the store following the great decision. But this time she spoke into my ear, so only I could hear. Don't worry. I'll never let anything bad happen to you. I'll talk to Mom. You go with Ricky for now. Trust me. Then she released me, and Miss Helen was pulling me gently away. Come on, Klara, dear. We emerged from the theater crowd, Mr. Vance leading the way towards the diner, Miss Helen hurrying to walk alongside him. Rick and I followed the adults a few steps behind, and as the emptiness and cool air moved in around us, I felt my orientation returning. When I looked back, I was surprised to see how dark and quiet the street actually was, aside from the single dense cluster of people around the streetlight. In fact, as we moved even further away, this crowd, of which I had so recently been a part, appeared like one of those insect clouds I had seen in the evening field, hovering against the sky, each creature within its busy changing position, anxious to find a better one, but never straying beyond the boundary of the shape they made together. I saw Josie waving with puzzled expression from the crowd's edge, and the mother standing behind her, and hand on each of Josie's shoulders, watching us with empty eyes. Oh my god, I keep messing up. Hang on. It's very frantic because of the environment. Okay. Okay, let's go. It's a... You know they're making a movie out of this book? I think it's gonna be a good one. I mean, but then I'm very biased. I also think Never Let Me Go is really, really good, so...
Alright, let's go. We are currently still reading part 4. It's a very long part of Kazuo Ishiguro's Klara and the Sun. Page 271. The darkness grew, and the noises of the theater crowd became more faint, and I knew my observational abilities hadn't been too badly impaired because I continued to see clearly before me the illuminated diner towards which we were walking. I could see how it was shaped like a pie segment, the sharp end pointed towards us, and how the street fork on either side of it, and how the diner's window ran alongside both the diverging sidewalks, so that no matter which way passers-by went, they would be able to look into this lit interior at the shiny leather seats, the polished tabletops, and the bright see-through shiny leathers, and the polished tabletops. And the bright see-through counter behind, which the diner manager was waiting for customers with his white apron and white cap. With no vehicles approaching and the surrounding buildings so dark, the diner was this area's only light source, throwing slanted shapes onto the paving stones. I wondered which side of the fork Mr. Vance would choose, but as we came closer, I noticed a door that just at the pointed corner itself. The only reason I hadn't spotted it earlier, I suppose, was because the door was so resembled the diner's windows. It was made mostly of glass and had painted writing going across it. Mr. Vance opened the door, stood aside to allow Miss Helen to go in first. When I came in behind Rick a moment later, I found the lighting was so strong and yellow, I couldn't immediately adjust to it. Only gradually did I make out the slices of fruit pie, each one it, his face fixed away from me. I then realized that he was watching Mr. Vance and Miss Helen as they chose their booths and settled themselves into it, facing one another. I saw Rick's figure cross the shiny floor and sit down beside his mother. As I did so, Josie's parting words to me returned to my mind, and I wondered what important matter the mother wished to discuss with her at the friend's apartment and why my absence was so necessary. Miss Helen and Mr. Vance continued to gaze at each other silently for the entire time it took me to get over to them. I didn't feel like I knew Mr. Vance well enough to sit beside him. Also, he was sitting midway across the seat intended for two, and I could see I couldn't able to take my seat without disturbing his comfort, so instead I sat down alone in the neighboring booth across the aisle. Mr. Vance finally stopped gazing at Miss Helen and in turn, in his seat, called out for instructions to the diner manager. Only then did it occur to me that though there were no customers but us, all the tables and seats had been carefully made ready in case others came in. I thought then that this diner manager might be lonely, or at least that he was alone while he was in his diner, illuminated on both sides to anyone's passing by in the night. Sir, Sir, Rick said, I'm very grateful you're giving up time for me, and that you are even considering helping me. You know, Rick, Mr. Vance said dreamily, I haven't seen this mother of yours for quite some time. I appreciate that, sir, and you've never even met me before, except one fleetingly when I was 2 or something, so that makes this all more generous of you, agreeing to see me like this. But then, Mom's always saying how generous a person you are. I'm relieved your mother's been speaking so well of me. Maybe he has told you 1 or 2 negative things also? Oh no, my mother's only spoken of you positively. Is that so? All these years I've thought, well, never mind. Helen, I'm already impressed by this boy of yours. Miss Helen had been watching Mr. Vance carefully. I need hardly to tell you, Vance, how grateful I am. I'm thankful. I would thank you at greater length, but this is Rick's chance and I'm not wishing to speak on his behalf. That's well said, Helen. So Rick, why don't you tell me what it is all about? Well, I'm not sure where to start, but here it goes.
I have a keen interest in drone technology. You could say that it's a passion. I've been developing my own system and I now have my own team of drone birds. One second. When you say own system, Rick, are you saying that you have gone beyond what anyone else had done? Panic crossed Rick's face and he glanced towards at me. I smiled at him, trying to convey as I did so that the smile wasn't just mine but on behalf of Josie. Whether he understood this or not, he appeared to take encouragement. No, sir, hardly, he said with a quick laugh. I'm not claiming that I'm a genius, but I'll say that my drone system is one that I've worked out for myself without help from any tutors. I've used various information sources that I found online, and my mother's been very supporting, ordering in some expensive books. Actually, I've brought with me some drawings just in case you wanted a vague idea. Here they are. But no, I don't believe I'm doing anything so breaking. And I know I'm not likely to without expert guidance. I follow you. So you aim to get into a good college in order to do justice to your talent? Well, something like this, like that. My mother and I thought that maybe Atlas Brookings, being generous and liberal college, sufficiently generous and liberal to be open to all students of high caliber, even who haven't benefited from genetic editing. Exactly, sir. And no doubt, Rick, you understand, because your mother will have told you that I currently chair the college founders committee. That's to say, the body that controls scholarship. Yes, sir, that's what she told me. Now, Rick, I'm hoping that your mother hasn't been implying that the selection procedures at Atlas Brookings is subject to any favoritism. Neither my mother nor I would ask you to help me out of favoritism, sir. I'm only asking you to help if you think I'm worth a place at Atlas Brookings. That's well said. Okay, let's take a look at what you have there. Rick had already placed his notebook on the table, and Mr. Vance now opened it. He stared at the diagram at which the notebook had fallen open, then as he turned over the page and found another, he appeared to become absorbed. He continued to leaf slowly through the notebook, sometimes returning to an earlier page. At one point, he murmured without looking up, "This all refers to what you plan to create in the future?" "Most likely, yes, though some designs I've already realized, like the one on the next page." Miss Helen was watching silently with a gentle smile on her face, her glance moving from Mr. Vance to Rick's notebooks. At the moment I felt once more, fleetingly but vividly, the father's hand holding my head at a required angle, and heard the trickling noise as the fluid entered the plastic bottle he was holding up close to my face with his other hand. "Now, Rick," Mr. Vance said, "I'm very ignorant about these matters. Even so, I'm getting the impression that your drones have high surveillance capabilities. The birds are data gathering, that's right. But that doesn't mean they have to be used for privacy invasive activity. They have potential implications, security, even babysitting. Then again, perhaps there are people out there who needs to keep an eye on. Like criminals, you mean? Or paramilitaries or weird cults. I follow you. These are all very interesting. You don't see any real ethical issues here?" "I'm sure, sir, there are all kinds of ethical issues, but in the end, it is for legislators to decide how these things get regulated, not people like me. For now, I just want to learn as much as I can so I can take my understanding to the next level." "That's well said." Mr. Vance nodded and continued looking through Rick's notebook. The lonely diner manager had come over, holding his tray, and he began to place drinks on the table in front of Miss Helen, Mr. Vance, and Rick. They each thanked him in hushed voices. Then he walked away again. "You appreciate, Rick," Mr. Vance said. "I'm not trying to give you a hard time. I'm merely, testing you a little to see what you are made of." Then to Miss Helen he said, "And so far he's coming off very impressively. Vance, darling, would you care for something to go with this coffee? Perhaps one of those donuts I see over there? You're always partial to donuts." "Thank you, Helen, but I'm meeting some people for dinner." He glanced at his watch, then back at Rick. "Now consider this, Rick. Atlas Brookings believes there are many talented kids out there just like you. who, for reasons economic or otherwise, never received the benefits of AGE. The college who believes society in currently making a grave error is in not allowing those talents to come to full fruition. Unfortunately, most other institutions don't think this way, which means we receive vastly more applications from people like yourself than we are able to accommodate. We can weed out no hopers, but after that, frankly, it becomes a lottery. Now, Rick, you said that you're not seeking favoritism. Then let me ask you this. If that is really the case, then why am I sitting in front of you now? With these words, Mr. Vance changed the mood so suddenly I almost let a surprised sound escape me. Rick, too, seemed startled. Only Miss Helen appeared not to be surprised, but as though something she had feared all along had finally arrived, she smiled and said, I'm going to answer this one for him, Vance. Yes, we are asking you for a favor. We know that you have it in your gift, so we are asking you to help us. I'll rephrase that. I'm asking you. I'm asking you to help my boy having to have a fighting chance in this world. Mom. No, Ricky, darling, that's alright. It's for me, not you, to ask Vance. We are asking him for to exercise favoritism. Of course we are. I had been wrong in thinking we were diners managers' only customers. I now realized that in the booth 3 along from mine there was a lady of 42 sitting by herself. I hadn't seen her before because she was pressing herself right onto the window, her forehead actually touching the glass to gaze out into the darkness. I wondered if perhaps diner manager had also failed to notice her, and that she became even more lonely, believing diner manager was deliberately ignoring her. You know, Helen, Mr. Vance said, this is a strange tactic you're adopting here. Favoritism, like any form of corruption, works best when it remains unacknowledged. But leaving that to one side, Mr. Vance leaned forward. When I thought this was Rick asking, that was one thing. He's an impressive and charming kid. It's going well, but look at what you have just done. You have just told me this is about me doing you, Helen, a favor. After all these years of your not answering my messages, all these minutes and hours and days and months and years of my thinking about you. Why must you say this here in front of Rick? Miss Helen was still smiling gently, but her voice wobbled. Rick's an intelligent young man. He's the one who ultimately wins or loses, so why hide things from him? Let him see the whole picture. Let him see what is this about. Once again, Rick looked across the aisle to me, and once again I tried to send him back encouragement with a smile that was from both me and Josie. But what is this about, Vance? Miss Helen asked. Is it really so complicated? I'm simply asking you to help my son. If you're not willing to do so, then we can part politely and that will be that. Who said I didn't wish to help Rick? I can see he's a talented young man. Those drawings show true promises. I have every reason to believe that he might do well at Atlas Brookings. The problem is that it's you asking me, Helen. Then I shouldn't have spoken. Before I spoke, it was going well. I could see how you took to each other and Rick spoke to you with genuine respect. But then I intervened, and now there's a problem. Damn right there's a problem, Helen. 27 years worth of problem. 27 years you refused to have any communications with me. I wasn't harassing your mother during that time, Rick. I don't want you thinking that. Oh, at the start of it, I was, well, let's say I might have been in an emotional tone. But I never harassed her, never threatened, never blamed, just pleaded. Is that fair, Helen? A fair characterization? Quite fair. You are persistent, but there was never any unpleasantness. But Vance, does this have to be said in front of Rick? Okay, I respect that. Maybe I should stop talking. I should stop doing the talking. Maybe it's time you did some talking instead, Helen. Sir, I don't know what's gone on in the past, but if you feel there's something inappropriate about asking you to... Just a minute, Rick, Mr. Van said. I'm wanting to help you, but I think it's time we gave your mother a chance to explain herself. For several seconds, none of them spoke. I looked towards the diner manager, wondering if he had been listening, but he was staring outside into the darkness beyond his windows, with no signs of having heard anything that interested him. I admit, Miss Helen said, I behaved badly towards you, Vance. I accept that. But then I behaved badly towards myself, towards everyone. You mustn't feel singled. My awfulness was universally distributed. Oh, that's a new one. Sorry, that's a new one. Oh, God. I love it. My awfulness was universally distributed. That may be so, but I wasn't just everybody. We have been sharing a life for 5 years. Yes, and I do want to apologize. Sometimes Vance and Rick too. I don't mind saying this in front of you. Often wish I could line up all the people, everyone I've treated shabbily, have them all in a long line. Then I work my way along it, the way a monarch might. One by one, shake each person's hand, look each one in the eye and say, I'm so sorry, wasn't I awful? Fantastic! So now I have to stand in the line for the honor of receiving Her Majesty's apology. Oh dear, that came out badly. I'm just trying to express how I feel. I know it sounds dreadful when you put it like that, but when I look back at things, it's so overwhelming, and I think if only there could be some sort of solution like that. If I was a queen, then yes, I could. Mom, I know what you're trying to say, but maybe this isn't but the best way. Once you were a queen. You were kind of a queen, Helen, a beautiful queen, and you thought you could do whatever you wish with impunity. I'm kind of sad, but kind of glad too, to see that you didn't get away with it, that it caught up with you and you had to pay a great price after all. And what price have I paid, Vance? Do you refer to my being poor? Because I don't mind that so much, You may not mind being poor, Helen, but you have become fragile, and I think you mind that a whole lot more. Miss Helen was silent for several further seconds, while Mr. Vance kept staring at her with big eyes. Finally, she said, Yes, you're right. Since the day you knew me, I've become fragile. So fragile that I'm liable to break into pieces in a puff of wind. I've lost my beauty, not to the years, but to this fragility. But Vance, dear Vance, won't you forgive me now, at least partially? Won't you help my son, Vance? I would offer you everything, anything, but there's nothing I can think to offer you. Nothing at all other than this pleading. So I'm begging you, Vance, to help him. Moms, please stop this. There's no way. You see my difficulty, Rick? I don't quite know what it is your mother's referring here to. She says she wants to apologize, but about what? It's all so broad. I think maybe this will work better. Helen, if we get into specifics. I'm just asking you to help my son, Vance. Isn't that specific enough? Specifics, Helen. For example, that evening at Miles Martin's house. You know the evening I refer to? Yes. When I told them all that you had not yet read at the Jenkins report. You earned yourself a big laugh at my expense for that one, Helen, and you knew what you are doing. Then, Vance, I apologize about that evening. I was out of control. I was vindictive. I wish another specific. No other. I'm looking down the list randomly. That voicemail you left me in that hotel in Portland, Oregon. You think that wasn't hurtful? It was very hurtful. It was a despicable message, and I haven't forgotten it. I hear it in my mind even now. It invades me when I least expected it. I have a quiet moment to myself, then there I am, and in my mind picking up the phone and leaving you that message all over again. Except this time I changed it. I did it so that it's not quite awful, because I never actually heard it myself, only heard myself saying it. I feel sometimes it's not too late to amend it. I can't help it. It's a trick my mind plays and I feel dreadful all over again. Believe me, Vance, I've punished myself about that message so much. And you must appreciate in those days I didn't know you technically erase a message once you have left one. Mom, stop, sir. I don't think this is doing my mother much good. She hasn't been great lately. Miss Helen touched Rick's arm to silence him. Vance, I'm apologizing, she went on. I'm pleading. I'm saying I behaved badly towards you, and if you like, I'll vow to you that I'll punish myself and keep punishing myself until I made it up to you. Mom, let it go. This isn't good for you. If you wish, Vance, we can arrange to meet again, let's say in 2 years' time in this very place. Then you could check to see if I've been keeping my promise. You could look me over and check that I've been punishing myself properly. That's enough, Helen. If Rick wasn't here, I would tell you what I think of that. Sir, I don't wish you to do anything at all to assist me. I don't want any part of this now. No, Rick, you don't know what you're saying. And no, Rick, you don't know what you're saying, Miss Helen said. Don't listen to him, Vance. Mr. Vance rose to his feet and said, I have to go. Mom, please calm down. None of this matters so much. You don't know what you're saying, Rick. Vance, don't go just yet. Let's not part like this. You used to love donuts. Won't you have one now? I agree with Rick. None of this is good for you, Helen. Best thing is for me to leave. Rick, I like those drawings and I like you. Take good care of yourself. Goodbye, Helen. Mr. Vance walked off down the aisle between booths without looking back at any of us, then out through the glass door and into the darkness. Miss Helen and Rick went on sitting side by side, looking down at the space before them and onto the tabletop. Then Rick said, Klara, come sit over here with us. I'm wondering, Miss Helen said. Rick moved closer to her, placing an arm around her shoulders. Why are you wondering, Mom? I'm wondering if that was enough, if that would satisfy him. Honestly, Mom, if I had known it was going to be even halfway like this, I would have never said in a million years. I've never said never. I would have said never in a million years. I slipped into the seat. Oh, sorry. I slipped into the seat. Vacated by Mr. Vance, but neither Miss Helen nor Rick raised their glances to me. I looked at Miss Helen and thought how she and Mr. Vance had been once besotted and in love, and I wondered if there had been a time when Miss Helen or Mr. Vance had been as gentle to one another as Josie and Rick were now, and if it was possible that one day Josie and Rick too might show such unkindness to each other. And I remembered how the father remember the father talking in the car about human heart and how complicated it was. I saw him standing in a yard directly in front of the low sun, his figure and his evening shadow entwining into a single elongated shape as he reached up and unscrewed the protection cap from the nozzle of the coatings machine, and I stood anxiously behind him holding the plastic mineral water bottle containing precious solutions. What happened just now? Miss Helen asked. What Vance going to do? Is he going to help? He could at least have told us one way or another. Excuse me, I said. I don't wish to create unwarranted hope, but what I observe, I believe Mr. Vance will decide to help Rick. You really think so? Miss Helen asked. Why? I may be mistaken, but I believe Mr. Vance is still very fond of Miss Helen and will decide to help Rick. Oh, you darling robot. I do so hope you're right. I don't know what else I might have done. Mom, to hell with him. I'll be fine anyway. He wasn't nearly as ugly as I've been led to expect, Miss Helen said, and looked out into the dark, empty street. In fact, he wasn't so bad looking after all. I just wish he had told us. One way. Oh, wait. Sorry. Look out into the dark, empty street. In fact, he wasn't so bad looking at all. I just wish that he had told us one way or another.
Okay, next. I think this should be. Yep, I think a few more pages and we are done. Okay, let's go. Oh, part 4 is so long. Our booth must have been clearly visible to the mother as she pulled up at the curb on our side of the diner. But she dimmed the lights and remained in the car, perhaps wishing to give privacy, even though she could see Mr. Vance had gone. But when we came out and entered the car and started to move through the night, I saw that she was anxious about Josie being left alone in the friend's apartment, and keen to deliver me there as quickly as possible before she drove Rick and Miss Helen to their reasonable hotel. The mother had asked how did it go when we first got in, but after Miss Helen had replied, "Not so good. We'll have to see," there was little conversation in the car, each person becoming lost in their thoughts. At night, the friend's apartment was even harder to distinguish from its neighbors. The mother led me up the correct steps, and from the top step I glanced back to the waiting car under the streetlight. I could see the shapes of Miss Helen and Rick inside and wondered what they might be saying to each other now that they are alone. The friend's apartment was just as we left it when setting off for Mr. Capaldi's, except, of course, it was now in darkness. From the entrance hall, I could see the main lounge and the night patterns falling over the sofa on which Josie had waited for father's arrival. Her paperwork was still on the rug where she had let it fall, one corner palely illuminated. The mother indicated down the hall, saying softly, "She should be fast asleep, so go in quietly. Anything concerns you, call me. I'll be 20 minutes." She was about to go out again, and I didn't wish to delay Rick and Miss Helen's return to Reasonable Hotel, but I said quietly, "It's possible now we can hope." "What do you mean?" "In the morning when the sun returns, it's possible for us to hope." "Okay, that's helpful. The way that you're always optimistic." She reached for the door. "Don't turn on any lights. They could disturb her, even inside there." Then Mother became oddly still, standing in the near dark, her nose almost touching the surface of the floor. Surface of the door. Without turning, she said, "Josie and I had a conversation earlier. It took some strange turns. I guess we were both tired. If she wakes up and says anything peculiar to you, don't pay it too much attention. Oh, and remember, leave these chains off or I won't get back in. Good night." I entered the second bedroom carefully and found Josie sleeping soundly. The room was more narrow than a bedroom at home, but the ceiling was higher, and because Josie had left the blind halfway up, there were shapes falling across the wardrobe and the wall next to it. I went to the window and looked out into the night to establish the path the sun might take in the morning, and how easy it would be for him to look in, like the room itself. The window was tall and narrow. Surprisingly, close by were the backs of two large buildings, and I could decipher drain pipes marking out vertical lines and repeating windows, most of them empty or blanked out by blinds. Between the two buildings I could see the street beyond, and could tell that by the morning it would be a busy one. Even now, there was steady flow of vehicles crossing the gaps. Above the piece of street was a tall column of night sky, and I estimated that the sun would have no difficulty pouring in his special nourishment from it, narrow though it was. I realized too how important it was that I remain alert, ready at the first sign to raise the blind fully. "Klara?" Josie stirred beside me. "Is Mom back too?" "She won't be long. She's just driving Rick and Miss Helen to their hotel." She appeared to return to sleep, but a few moments later I heard the bedclothes moving again. "I'll never let anything bad happen to you." Her breaths became longer, and I thought she had fallen asleep again. "Then," she said in a clearer voice, "nothing's changing." She had now become more awake, so I said, "Did the mother discuss with you some new idea?" "Well, I don't think it was an idea. I told her nothing like that is ever going to happen." I wonder what it was that the mother suggested.
Didn't she already talk to you about it? It was nothing. Some vague stuff traveling through her head. I wonder if she would say anything more. Then the duvet moved again. She was trying to offer something, I guess. She said I could give she said she could give up her job and stay with me the whole time if I wanted that. She said that she could become the one who was always beside me. She would do that if I really wanted it. She would do it and let go of her job. But I said, what will happen to Klara? And she was like, we wouldn't need Klara anymore because she would be with me the whole time. You could tell it wasn't anything she had thought through, but she kept asking. Like, I had to decide. So in the end, I told her, look, Mom, this wouldn't work. You don't want to give up your job, and I don't want to give up Klara. That was just about it all. It's just not going to happen, and Mom agrees. We were quiet for some time after that, Josie hidden in the shadows while I continued to stand in the window. Perhaps, I said eventually, the mother thought if she stayed with Josie all the time, Josie would be less lonely. Who says I'm lonely? If that were true, if Josie really would be less lonely with Mother, then I would happily go away. But who says I'm lonely? I'm not lonely. Perhaps all humans are lonely. At least, potentially. Look, Klara, this was just a shitty idea Mom was having. I was asking her earlier about the portrait, and she got herself into a big knot and came up with this idea. Except it wasn't an idea, it wasn't anything. So please, can we forget about it? She became quiet again. Then she was asleep. I decided that if she woke up again, I should say something to prepare her for what might happen in the morning, at least to ensure she did nothing to impede his special help. But now, perhaps because I was in the room with her, her sleep continued to deepen, and eventually I left the window to stand by the wardrobe, from where I knew I would see the first signs of the sun's return. We sat in the same position on the journey coming in. The height on the seat backs meant I could see the mothers only partially as she drove, and Miss Helen hardly at all, except when she peered around her seat to emphasize that what she was saying. Once we were still in the city's slow-moving traffic, Miss Helen turned to us in this way and said, no, Ricky dear, I don't want you to say anything else unpleasant about him. You don't know him at all and you don't understand. How could you? Then her face went away and her voice continued. I suppose I said a lot of things about myself last night, but this morning I realized how unfair that was. What right do I have to expect anything from him? Miss Helen had appeared to address this last question to Mother, but the mother seemed far away. As she drove us through another intersection, the mother murmured, Paul isn't so bad. I think sometimes I'm too hard on him. He's not a bad guy. Today I feel sorry for him. It's funny, Miss Helen said, but this morning I woke up with more hope. I feel it's quite possible Vance will still help. He'd rather work himself up last night, but once he calms down and reflects, he may well decide he wants to be decent. He likes, you see, to nurture an image of himself as a very decent person. Rick stirred beside me. I've told you, Mom, I'm not having anything else to do with your man, and neither should you. Helen, the mother said, is this really getting you anywhere? Going round and round this way? Why not just wait and see? Why torture yourself? You both did your best. Josie, on the other side of Rick from me, took Rick's hand and entwined her fingers with his. She smiled at him encouragingly, but also, I thought, a little sadly. Rick returned the smile, and I wondered if they were exchanging secret messages just with their gazes. I turned back to the window beside me, resting my forehead against the glass. I've been watching and waiting since the earliest signs of dawn, but though the sun's first ray had come straight into the second bedroom through the gap between the buildings, I hadn't for a second mistaken his for his special nourishment. I remembered, of course, that I should be grateful as always, but hadn't been able to keep the disappointment from my mind. Then all through the early breakfast, the packing, and the mother moved through the friend's apartment checking security. I had continued to watch and wait. And now, leaning forward and gazing past Rick and Josie, I could still see the sun, still on his morning ascent, flashing between the tall buildings as we moved past them. I thought then about the father closing the door of this very car, looking beyond me towards the yard and the coatings machine, saying, "Don't worry, I heard it." The little fizzing sound. That's a telltale sign. The monster won't rise again. And then a moment later, his face looming in front of mine, his voice asking, "Are you okay? Can you see my fingers? How many do you see?" And I experienced again, and I had done all morning, a wave of anxiety that the son wouldn't keep the promise he had made in Mr. McBain's barn. "Listen, Rick," the mother said. "Listen, Rick," mother said. "Never mind what else happened last night. Your work, your portfolio got a thumbs up. You have to take heart from that, and that's all. The more reason to believe in yourself." "Mom, please," Josie said. "Rick doesn't need big lectures now." The adults couldn't see, but she tightened her grip on Rick's hand and once again smiled at him. He gazed back at Josie. "I appreciate that, Mrs. Arthur. You're always being kind to me. Thank you." "There's no telling," Miss Helen said. "No telling with fans." I've been aware for a few moments of the tall building now approaching on my side. It shared some characteristics with the RPO building, but if anything was even taller, and because the traffic had slowed down right now, I could study it carefully. The sun was casting his rays onto its front, and as one section of it became like the sun's mirror, throwing back an intense reflection on his first morning light. The buildings has many windows and have been organized into rows, verticals and horizontal. Yet the results were disordered. The rows from the lining was crooked, sometimes running into each other. Within some of the windows, I saw office workers moving across, sometimes coming up to right to the glass to gaze down at the street. But many of the windows were hard to see at all because of the gray mist drifting past them. And then the next instant, as the mother brought the car forward a little more, I saw through a gap between neighboring vehicles the machine sitting on its own space, protecting from the oncoming traffic with the overhaul man's barriers. The machine was pumping out pollution from the tree funnel. And the start of his name, the letters COO, was on its body. And even as I felt disappointment flood my mind, I was able to observe that this was not the same machine that the father and I had destroyed in the yard. Its body was a different shade of yellow, its dimensions were a little greater, and its ability to create pollution more than a match for the first coatings machine. "Just wait and see now, Helen," the mother said. "Maybe there are other options for Riggs anyway." We moved beyond the new coatings machine, and the gray pollution mist drifted past the windshield, so that the mother, noticing, muttered under her breath, "Look at this. How did we get away with it?" Even if there were, Mom," Josie said, "would those be colleges you would let me go to? I don't understand why you and Rick need to go to the same college," the mother said. "What are you, married already? Young people go to all kinds of places. They can still keep in touch." "Mom, we have to talk about this right now. Rick really doesn't need this." I turned to look back through the rear windshield. The tall building was still visible, but the new coatings machine had become hidden by other vehicles. I now knew why the son hadn't acted, and for a moment I might have let my posture slump and my head hang down. Josie, leaning forward in her seat, looked at me. "See, Mom," she said, "you have upset Klara too, and she was upset enough, what with her store moving away. We need happy talks right now." And that is the end of part 4. That was really long. That was the longest chapter of part. The next stream, I think it's going to be next week or something.
I don't know if I can. Probably can. We'll finish the book, and then we will read something by Natsume Shoseki. Not Shoseki, Soseki. Okay. Oh my god. Oh god. I finally managed to read my book. I'm so happy. Really good. Oh my god. I feel like this. I'm too biased. I like everything from Kazuo Ishiguro. And I'm very sad because this is like the last book I have from him. Because this is also his last published book. I don't know if he would. I don't know if he has more. I'm sure he has more coming up, and I hope that he has more. But yeah, I think I've basically read almost every single Kazuo Ishiguro books. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Next stream's gonna be quite a short one. I think about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. It's part 5 and part 6, and it will be the end. And then, yeah, great, guys. One quick toilet break. I'll be right back. We can chat for like 10 minutes. Wee! Oh, hey, thank you, Marlboros. Uh, sorry. Sorry for the sniffing. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Switching on the aircon might be a mistake. I don't know who is here, but I see someone is here. Okay, let's have a quick chit chat for like 10 minutes, and I'm gonna go. Okay, guys. It's yeah, I've been away for a while. I think I mentioned why when I first started. It's because I started a new job and it's taking a lot of time and energy from me. When I say I started a new job, it's basically like I am I started a new normie job. That's a horrible thing, horrible way to say it, but yeah, I started a bit of a normie job where I had to go into office, but it's okay. It was like hybrid, so I work half the week in the office, half the week. Is it? Uh, yeah, like 4 days in the office, and then the rest at home. Yeah, bit so. Yeah, I started a normie job, so that's why I've been away for so long. I've been trying to like, um, been trying to like time to look for time to do my stream. But it's a bit difficult because um, on my days off, I just wanted to like chill. And it's funny because uh, on my days off, I still do my reclear. And I've been doing my reclears pretty well, but I've been getting my books well, but even when I get like, free roll for like, party finders, I still don't manage to get what I need to upgrade my gears. But it's fine, it's okay. I'm not I have like I've basically given up on like, I mean, at least for this tier, I kind of given up on like raiding altogether. But it's fine. My reclares are so much more fun now without my static. It's um, yeah, it's. I just realized, I'm not the weakest link. That's all. I mean, they like in my static, they try to make it look like I'm the weakest link, and I don't quite enjoy being made to feel that way. So I just left, and I'm doing much better now. Like with no random party finders in mana. So been busy working and stuff. I just got a new pet gecko last Friday. Her name is Klara, almost like Klara, but no. Her color, my gecko's color is like caramel mocha. So her name is Caramel Mocha. And just a short call her Caramel or Kara. It's a little gecko. It's a girl. Her birthday's on 16th of January. What is that? What is January zodiac? I just know I never had anyone, I never had any friends as January zodiac. 16 January. Capricorn. Wow, I don't think I have a Capricorn a friend. Yeah, she's sweet. I love my little gecko. Yeah, anyway, I'm always checking I always port all my videos to YouTube. And YouTube's been very kind to me. Like the views for Kara and the Sun is quite good. I mean, not great, but they not like have thousands or whatever. But slowly climbing, I guess. My most well performed video on my YouTube channel is like Kazuo Ishiguro. Yeah, Artist the Floating World. That's crazy. 15K views. If this is like 10 years ago, right? I would have been able to monetize my channel, but I can't. Like, it's so difficult to monetize channel right now. So, yeah. Wow, my first part of Klara and the Sun was 4 hours. I just realized that. I didn't read part 1 and part 2. That's why it's so long. Part 3 was 2.5 hours. So part 4 just now we ended at 3 hours. So yeah, I think the last part will be much shorter than part 1 and part 2. So it will be like, yeah, an hour and a half, 1 hour maybe. But yeah, it's great. How is everyone doing? If you guys are still here, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go eat. No, I'm gonna go cook first, and then I'm gonna eat. Thanks for coming by, Ando. I know you're here. I'm so happy. I'm so glad. Like, I know, like, most of the time I'm just like read alone, and I don't put party finder anymore because I feel like people get very confused, like what the fuck is this? And then they have to click a link to go out of the game to watch something, which is like, I don't know. I don't think it's that far off, but you know, most people do party finder. RP stuff is for like going to a party bar or something, I don't know. And then here I am just sitting down here reading. There's no performance, there's no music. So I think people get very confused. So I kind of just stopped putting on Party Finder altogether. So I only announced on my Discord now. I didn't even announce on my Twitter because I completely forgot. But it's okay. Twitter is also pretty dead. I think a lot of people left to go to Blue Sky. I don't know. No, nowadays people don't go to Twitter unless there's a Google Doc to be released. Lamau XC. But anyway, things been okay. Things been okay. Oh, Ando. How are you? Are you okay? Busy? I saw you a few times, but like I know you probably saw me a lot, like, AFKing in Ghost Saucer, because I don't log out from game. I just like stand there, hold like for days. um, yeah, things been okay. Things been okay. I think. I have been trying a lot in many ways or another, like mentally, physically. Like I went from hibernating at home for every single day for 5 years to going out almost on a daily basis to go to an office. I know that sounds crazy, right? Because everyone does that. That is the norm, right? But I've been just at home for 5 years. Like I said, I don't regret that. Especially for last year, I definitely don't regret that. When my cat passed away after 3 months struggle, um, I definitely was very glad that I wasn't working, cause I never really talked about it before because it always makes me sad. I mean, yeah, but the gist is that he was very sick for the last 3 months of his life, and I had to attend to him a lot, a lot. I definitely, by the time when he passed away, I definitely had caregiver burnout plus some form of PTSD because he died on my arms. So, let's just say that death rattles is not nice. Especially is 3 death rattles successively. Yeah, he's still with us, you know. Yeah, I have his urn with me. We put, like, my mom and I, we put a candle for him and incense for him every single day. But I definitely wasn't mentally okay for like at least half a year after he passed. The lowest of the low was me. I wanted to make a bookmark with his whisker, and I because he's cremated, so I forgot to. Actually, I didn't forget. It's just that even after he passed away, I just feel like I cannot pluck his whiskers out of his face, right? It's like no matter, like, I know he cannot feel the pain anymore, but I still feel like it's not right to do that. So I didn't do that. I didn't keep his whisker. And then there was one evening, like 3 4 a.m. I just woke up and I remember, oh shit, I didn't get his whisker. to make a bookmark out of it. And then I started crawling all over the entire house trying to find his whisker. That's probably the lowest. And then I saw the wall where I put his little table for him to eat his food, and he eats like kibbles and wet food, like those, and his wet food, those packaged wet food, I mix it with like tuna that we eat, those tuna in can, but like submerged in like spring water type. And whenever he eats it, he eats the wet food, he will flick all the tuna all over, like, and then it will stick on the wall. And as I was crawling all over the floor trying to find his whisker, I saw the wall with like dried crumbs of like tuna stuck on the wall. That like totally broke me entirely. That was probably the lowest I felt, crawling all over the house trying to find his whisker. And unfortunately, no, there's no whiskers. But his fur is every fucking where. It's still on my clothes, still on my jacket, still on everywhere. Everywhere. You can't you I've seen people say that even after 10 years their cat passed away, they still have their fur all over their house. So I'm leaving that right now. So like I said, I'm healing. But healing is not linear. And I've always wanted to get a gecko, pet gecko. I always wanted to get an African fat tail gecko, but I can't get it because I have a cat. My cat would eat it so fast. So, or scare the shit out of it, right? So, I think getting the gecko definitely is one way for me to heal, slowly move on. But I can tell you for sure I will never get another cat, because when he passed away, I have this feeling like this hole is here. My cat's hole in my heart is here, and it's never get filled because there's no other cat that can fit into this same hole as my cat does in my heart. So sorry guys, didn't know sorry to be a bummer, but speaking my mind. Okay, anyway. Sometimes I watch some of my old videos and I meant, like, you can hear me talking to my cat, or like my cat being annoying. He likes to come into the room, yell at me, and then walks out from a room. It's just, I don't know why he does that. But I miss him a lot. Anyway, no more bummer. this fucking corn is my favorite minion ever. It's so funny looking. Holy shit. I still have some quests from him I haven't done yet. Anyway guys, I'm sorry for being a bummer. I hope you guys enjoyed part 4 just now. It was nice. Yeah, talk about reveal, right? Imagine your mom wants to make a robot out of you after you die. I won't even do that to my cat. Because no one can replace my cat. Yeah. Anyway, my cat's great. Sorry. I'll see you guys next week. Probably around same time, like 3:30, 4. Yeah, I think 4 is okay because it's gonna be a shorter read. Then after that, we'll read. Ooh, I have to go through my Natsume. I only have a few more Natsume Soseki books left, so I have to go through and see which one to read first. And then we'll see. Alright?
Thanks, guys, for staying with me, listening to me. Go hug your cats. Bye.